No, I think it's not. Uh-oh, this isn't good. Not good. Not good. I think it's not right. Let me see. Ooh. Ooh. This isn't gonna work. I guess you can't go portrait mode here, huh? What up? Can you hear me? Say something in the chat if you can hear me. Had a malfunction I had to fix. All right, Scuba Steve. Check. I guess it looks okay. Total failure on my part. I thought I'd be able to do a portrait style, but I guess you can't do it from the computer, which was kind of the purpose of this whole thing. But anyways, we'll just roll with it for tonight. This is kind of nice. Let's see. What's up, everybody? See if I could turn me up. Check. Hello. Yeah, it's a little bit better, I think. Got 7 peoples. I know. It's kind of an experiment, you know. I've never done this on the computer, so I don't know. I've never done it, so I set it up on the computer instead of from my phone, which is why I wasn't sitting here when this thing started, because I thought that I would be able to have the camera in portrait mode and do a portrait style live, which was kind of the purpose, but didn't happen. And I guess we're just gonna go with what we got. Oh, there we go. I see the microphone thing. Check. I could probably move that light, I think. Stand by, give me a second. There we go. I should put a message out on Instagram, tell people to come over here to complain if they want to. Questions, comments, concerns. I'm looking at this platform form, like the YouTube app on my computer. I've never done it on here before, so I'm looking at this thing, kind of going over it to see what I can do and can't do. What's up? I do have another microphone here. You can, but if we can get more people in here, you can hop on this microphone.
That's so exciting.
But people aren't going to see this though, like they were last time, because this is live, or it's not portrait. I think it only shares your live like that if it's on portrait, because people are looking at shorts. I don't think so, because it's not in portrait mode. What's this one about? I don't know. General Q&A and whatever people got questions about. Doc C. Doc K, sorry. Oh, that's embarrassing. I'm sorry. No, you're not the first. Well, no, you're not. There's 12 people here, but yeah. Giveaway for March. Well, I mean, I do giveaways, but it's in the Surviving the Street community. So if you're not in there, then you're not going to get a chance to get anything. Actually, this Optic behind me right there. I'm giving away this. Oh, he is. Oh. Anyways, Scuba Steve. Giveaway for March. Why are you asking about March? It's February. I don't know. I'm giving away this Optic, but actually I'm Scuba Steve. Huh? I like it. What was I gonna say? So there's a referral like giveaway going on in the community, but nobody's referred anybody yet that I can tell. But see if we can focus on that. There we go. Oh, level it. There we go. Pretty cool. And essentially, you refer somebody, you get one entry to the community. You refer 2 people, you get 3 entries. You refer 3 people, you get 6 entries. But if nobody refers anybody, Steve, like in the next couple of days, probably, I'm going to put out a message to say that the referral entries into the program, or that the giveaway will start once somebody refers a person, right? Because I'm not going to like not give it away and give another time frame. I'll just say, hey, whenever somebody refers somebody, I'll let everybody know that somebody referred somebody, and we're going to start the giveaway today. So kind of encourage people to go refer more people.
Matt Kennedy said, thanks for the great info you're providing. I'm just a civilian and not in law enforcement, but find it useful.
You're welcome. That's dope.
Steve said it's the paid membership part that's the hard part to talk people into.
I know. One of my buddies that's in the group, he is about to get off the program for a department, not my department, but one in the city. And so yeah, I sent the community to like 15 different people, and people were asking him like, well, what's the $5 for? What's the $10 for? And the problem with it is not the money. It's the fact that they don't, the value proposition for what they believe they're getting is not high enough, right? if the circumstances were different or there was other things involved, I'm doing the best that I can. But, you know, when people see value in something, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily like training, right? Because that's where the value is. Training, law enforcement, education, you know, don't do this, learning from one another. We have two or I think two or three paramedics in the group, firefighters, first responders, other first responders, SWAT people, breachers, all kinds of different people with different experiences. And, if there's 104 people, or I think there's like 107 right now. So there's 107 people that find value in that, or for now, right? So there'll be more people. I mean, that'll come along. You just have to find the right people that are interested in that stuff. So, and the price is going to go up. Like it's not going to stay $5. I think it's $10 now. So the price isn't going to stay $10. So but we're building out the community. So right now there's, I'm doing what I can, but there's a lot to be done, and the other instructors are working on things to bring in what they offer. And once they kind of get established and are able to provide things, and I'm able to talk about what those things are, then other people might find value in the things that they provide. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're not into police tactics, police training, marksmanship, training on your own, right? Which is kind of what I'm going after, which is like individually capable or capable individuals, and trying to give the people in the group something that they could actually realistically do, right? Because most cops don't have teammates. Most cops don't have a place to go train. Most cops can't even go to their own range, and shoot. So, my focus is like, hey, what's available right now is a 15-minute dry fire accountability program. So if that's something that you're interested in, you want to get better at marksmanship, it doesn't cost you anything other than this membership, right? It's available to you. And if you don't, then you don't. But, that's what I'm focusing on. So most of my stuff, beyond a couple of the classes that I provide, in person that are going to be on there too, it's focused on the individual person uh, working on themselves. Do you have something?
Joe Schmo said, "Yo, yo, yo, how are you tonight? Love your content, man."
Thanks, Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo. That's like when you don't know somebody. Yeah.
Good old Joe Schmo. Zachary Jones, respect for what you're doing, my guy.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this last night. I think I don't know how to say this without sounding like braggy or something, but when I look at what's out there, and I'm just doing the stuff that I find interesting, that I think makes the most sense. I don't see channels or individuals narrowly focused on law enforcement and providing the things that are um, relevant, the most relevant to their job. So that's my focus.
McLeod said, "Can you talk about shooting with a gas mask? 2.2 doesn't work. Moved a pistol with red dot. We're considering red laser on an AR."
2.2. What does that mean?
I don't know. 2.2 doesn't work.
I don't know tell me what 2.2 means, but shooting with a gas mask, you just have to figure out what your process is, like everything else. So what I found is, um, just I've messed with different ways of doing it, but you have to figure out what it is you want to do, right? Because if you routinely wear a gas mask at work, like you're on a SWAT team or whatever, and you're going to be exposed, like the time when you put the gas mask on isn't the time where you try to figure out, well, am I going to use my laser? Am I going to use my dot? Like, what am I going to do? And you got to know. And so what I found messing with that quite a bit, um, you know, is really one of two things. It's either going to be your laser or what you do, right? So when you pick up your rifle and you try to get your normal cheek weld on your rifle, obviously your gas mask won't allow you to do that. All you have to do is tilt your head more to the side, and instead of laying like your cheek on the rifle like this, like you normally would, tilt it to the side over like that, and you'll be golden. So I would stick with that if you can, because that's more in line with what you normally do. So if you can do that, then that's what I would do. And then, if you're gonna dedicate and use your laser, just make sure you know what your holds are and you're gonna hit what you're aiming at. Um, so that's kind of my answer with that. Wow. Doc K just gave me $10.
Saw that. Thank you, Doc K.
Thank you. That's awesome. Appreciate you.
I think I'm out of my league, but want to show my support. Stay safe. That's nice. So
It's awesome.
nice.
Okay, Doc K, you weren't the first person in the chat, but you're the first person to ever send me money. So that's cool. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that as time goes on, people will, well, as hopefully continue to grow and do things, you guys, girls, and the community will see how like your support impacts like the quality of those things I'm able to provide for you and the content. Like I don't know what everybody else is doing. I don't know what everybody else is doing. I don't pay attention, instructors or what their motives are. But I'm really motivated on building something that continues to support what I'm trying to do in a bigger way. So any way that you guys get involved in whatever's I'm doing, liking videos, commenting, just showing up, sending it to people, we're just going to be able to do bigger and better things. So it's awesome. Thank you. And if you're in this chat, go like, well, I guess like it, even though it won't be shared, but that'd be cool if you go like it.
Are non-LEOs really welcome in the community?
So the link is actually in this description somewhere. I don't know what happened, but if there's a description to this, is there a description to this live? Well, if there should be a description.
Yeah.
So there's a link in the description to the community. And if you read it, I mean, it just says like, I don't know if it still says everybody is welcome, but it basically says that, every person that enters the community is subject to vetting by an admin if we find it necessary. And, you don't have to be law enforcement. Like I said, there's some paramedics in there. It'd be cool if there was something that some information you could add to the community itself. But if you wanted to be present, as long as you're not doing weird things and asking weird questions, and it seems like you're trying to like, I don't know, learn things for reasons that you don't need to know them or whatever. But there's going to be free stuff in there, and that free stuff, those courses are going to be available to whoever's in the community. So that if you're there. But yeah, civilians are welcome. But also just be aware that like we have a responsibility to the people in the community to make sure that the members who are in the community are protected in a way. So
Helio Wolf said, "Hey, I've been enjoying your content for the past few weeks. I swear as a deputy sheriff tomorrow."
that's cool, man. I think today we had well, actually I posted this on the Instagram, but like I said, if you go to the description, so I have on next Tuesday, I think I'm gonna schedule it for 10 or something or 9. I don't know. Next Tuesday, there's a cadet that's getting ready to go through the Utah State Trooper Academy that is in the community, and he has a bunch of questions that he sent me, and there's no way that I could answer like all those questions. So I'm holding a meeting or scheduling it, and I'm encouraging and asking community members to show up to the meeting. Um, or if they can, that way they can help me out and answer questions. And one of the troopers that's in my community that's coming flying from I think Massachusetts to take my course on the 30th of March, he's going to try to show up to the meeting because he's a trooper, so he's going to have more information and better information than me. So we have a lot of soon to be police officers or want to be police officers going through the process in the academy. And I think I talked about this with somebody else, but that is I think like once you get on duty and you're doing the job, you either are going to kind of take that path of tactical training and be into that thing, or it's just not going to happen. You're not really going to be interested further on. Like there's nothing that's going to spark that interest for you. So there are a lot of more, on average, more people, cadets in the academy that are into that thing. And I think if we can get to those individuals early on in their career or while they're in the academy, that they will, um, start making better decisions sooner and continue on the path of learning tactical skills and things like that. I've had cadets come to my training courses, so I allow that too. Again, the earlier the better. So it is Joe Schmo. I read it, I thought it said Joe Schmo, but it's not.
Vintage veterans and as a street cop SWAT operator, I appreciate your content.
It's awesome. Yeah, I have a lot of SWAT guys in the community. Routinely talk to a guy from California, Sacramento SWAT. I have a couple Austin SWAT guys that I talk to on the phone. Actually, I'm not going to mention that, but I got a message from somebody on Instagram who he's messaged me before, but he's a former Green Beret SWAT cop. Basically liking what I'm doing and the content that I'm putting out and agreeing with it. So yeah, it's awesome.
When the person who said 2.2 doesn't work,
Yeah,
he followed up with Unity mount height.
It's too high, right? Is that what you're saying? The 2.2 doesn't work? Yeah. I think it's a 185, right? Does Unity make a 185, I believe? Let me look real quick. I had that on my rifle. Yeah, the Unity Fast Micro. Oh, that's 2.2. Is that what I had? It looks like what I had. But it's too high, right? Is that what you're going to say? Let me know if it's too high. Like coming across delayed?
Yeah. Steve said, wouldn't a riser mount help for aiming with gas mask? I have one for passive aiming with knots.
So the problem, let me know though, you said 2.2, so I think 2.2 is too high. It's not really the height that's the problem. It's the angle of which your head rests on your buttstock. And I'm telling you, I mess with this a lot. I had a less lethal shotgun, or I have it still, and I did the same thing. Actually, let me grab this real quick. So I had I used to have a SIG on my rifle. This optic, and when I got a different optic for my rifle, I took this one off my rifle and put it on my shotgun, and I used the mount that came with it, and it's a little bit higher. Not sure exactly what the offset is on it.
He said Unity isn't too high, my face is too big.
Well, why can't you see the dot? That's my question. Well, everybody's face is too big with the gas mask on. So just try this. Like, doesn't really matter. You might run into issues when you tilt your head more sideways, depending on the height of your mount. And so, anyways, what I was saying is, I put this on my shotgun because I thought, okay, well, if I raise it up, I'll be able to maintain a similar, cheek well with my, face on my buttstock. And I couldn't do it. Like it wasn't working. And then I took it off and I was like, let me just tilt my head. And it was like, oh, okay, that's it. Just tilt your head more sideways rather than straight on. Try it and see if that works. that was the answer for me. Yeah, because I prefer to continue to use my Optic if I can, because it's what you're going to be doing majority of the time. So try to keep things the same whenever you can, but obviously, primary aiming and then like your passive aiming, device, your laser. And lasers are primarily used for deconflicting and communicating on SWAT teams. Like that's primarily what lasers are used for. Of course, you qualify with them and you shoot with them, but I don't know anybody personally that shot a person with one. And I think like you would even have to boil it down to, okay, if you did engage somebody with your laser, did you have to? Like, were the conditions set that forced you to do that, or was that a choice that you made because you had a predetermined, decision to do it that way? Yeah, tilting the gun too. You could do that. That's similar. And then you just have to be aware of your offset and how that changes the trajectory of your round if you're going to do that.
Did you see the one who says, what's your thoughts on departments running solid red and blues when not going to emergency?
What I guess I would ask you, what is the policy on that? I see cops doing it. Why are they doing that? For visibility, I guess. You're talking about when the lights are just on for some reason, like they just solid red and blue, just driving down the freeway. I've kind of wondered myself why that is.
What special units do you recommend going to besides SWAT?
Like within the department, I guess.
Hey, can I crawl under those wires?
I mean, no, not really.
I can crawl behind you.
Here,
I'll go behind you.
okay. Specialized unit. I mean, it's just different depending on what depending on what department you work for. I guess that would be more of like the question, like who a city, a big city, and specialized units. There's like one really. That's just SWAT. That's really the only one. I mean, it's like bomb techs or hostage negotiation or dive team, but or even like Marine units or something. But that's or like K9, right? And that's all stuff that you'd have to be interested in order to pursue something like that. So it just depends. I don't really have a good answer for that.
Will Bradley says, hey, I was wondering if there were tactics for defending a house or position. I can't find much information on this online.
I could point you to Tactical Carl, who's a buddy of mine. He might have more information for you on that. I think he kind of does a little bit more focus on that stuff, but tactics for defending a house or position. I mean, I don't know. I can't really tell you, to be honest with you. I will say, consider pursuing something, outside of whatever space you consider like safe. Like if you're in your room and you hear somebody breaking in, or someone is inside, maybe it's better to prepare yourself where you are than to go after or towards whatever it is. That's more like if somebody's in or somebody just broke in the door, right? Because it's really hard for even obviously police officers to fight against somebody who's in a defensive position, right? Because they're sitting there waiting, and that's an ambush, and ambushes suck. So if you are in your house and you have the opportunity to set your own ambush, that's what I would do. I wouldn't risk pursuing, after something unless you need to, because you have like kids or something in your house. You need to go to where they are. But Tactical Carl, look, he's on YouTube, but Instagram, you can find him. He'll message you back. Tell him I sent you.
solid lights.
Yeah.
He said some guy says it will keep people from committing crime if they see police drive by city and county, but only SUVs.
Um, yeah, sure, but real like crooks, like I mean, they do a decent job at making sure there aren't any cops in the area before they do anything. And that's, you know, um, I mean, I watched a guy who he was like, well, these CVSs were getting broken into. And this was like my first experience on patrol with basically watching a crime happen, and then acting on that because obviously on patrol, you're always responding to a call or doing a traffic stop or something like that. It's pretty rare to see a crime taking place. It does happen. Um, but this was my first experience with seeing how they do it, right? Or, can do it or whatever. But essentially, the CVSs had been getting broken into. They're stealing all the cigarettes, or he or whoever. And there was a call that came in about a suspicious person walking back and forth. On the camera. It was late at night, middle of the night on the CVS. It was like the security alarm company had called it in. And so just by the nature of the call, we knew, like me and my buddies knew that it was probably the guy and he was probably going to break in. So we basically concealed our vehicles, like I say, like a block away. There just happened to be like a little parking lot and a fence or whatever. So we were able to like sit behind it and get out on foot and just kind of monitor it like through the fence and whatnot. And basically, saw this guy who he brought over a trash can and he put it by the window or the door of the CVS. And then he brought over a rock and he set it a big rock and he set it by the trash can. And we're like, oh, okay, this is the guy. He's probably gonna break in. And he didn't just like do that and then jump up there and break in. He walked back and forth. In the like into the street, into the intersection, and would look around. And then when he didn't see any cars coming, he'd walk over there like he was gonna do it, and then he'd look around again, and then he'd see a car and he'd stop. So I mean, I don't know. I think that's a theory thing. Like if there are red and blues are on, then crimes will be committed. I think it's just as likely that they see your car, right? Like see the police or whatever, or see a car, period, right? So I don't know that that's really like a good theory, but I could see where like command staff or something would want you to do that. Or like if we call them like alert slips. So if we get an alert slip because businesses that have been broken into in the past couple days or certain types of crimes, BMVs, instead of kind of just driving through, you might do that, right? Put those on. I never have, but put those on and drive through, just show that you're monitoring that specific area, I guess.
Any recommendations on where to start learning grappling, striking, and empty-handed skills? What to prioritize?
Um, what do you are you in like in the police academy or going to school? I guess I need more information.
This is he's the one who's going to be sworn in as a deputy
Oh,
tomorrow.
I guess then you're gonna learn stuff in the academy, and it's gonna be very approved by the state and whatever they want you to learn. Um, but I would probably point you in the direction of JiuJitsu somewhere, and I don't do it, so I couldn't like tell you what's good and all that. But that's the most of what you're going to do as a cop is control people, right? Like as cops, we talk about like, oh, I got in a fight with this person, or he started fighting me, and when we say that, we're not really usually talking about like a fight, like people would, you know, associate with fighting, and we just call them fights, like when they're resisting you. And so, like the best things that you can learn, in my opinion, are um, takedown techniques, and any types of moves that allow you to control people. So I think jujitsu is the best thing that you could do because it is all of those things. Um, and yeah, I mean, you can strike people like when it's within the law or whatever. But I don't think I've never struck anybody in the head. Like they teach you that you can or whatever. But like my fights have always been like fights over controlling the people. I have like need, person or people in the stomach or whatever, to gain compliance when, trying to gain control. Well, I'm a small, like 5'6" and 145, 50 pounds. So, striking, but I would just say like anything that's more focused on control, because that's the vast majority of what you're going to do. Yeah, control. So jujitsu probably.
Ryan says, I know you want to refrain from simple and short form shooting breakdowns, but could you possibly give some tactical takeaways on the fatal Tennessee traffic stop that came out recently?
Is that the one that, well, I ended up removing that stuff from my Instagram. But is that the one where the deputies, I guess they were deputies, but female and male were up at the driver's door and trying to pull the guy out, and he got shot, right? Is that the one? Because there was another one where officers were killed, and I haven't looked into that one. Let me know if that's the right one.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, so I don't know like from start to finish everything that happened, and I don't necessarily need to know. I'll take a guess, right? However they got to where they were, I would assume a felony was committed. Or at a minimum, the individual in the driver's seat was resisting, right? He wasn't listening, he wasn't complying. He had his seatbelt on. They were at the point where they were struggling for control and tasing him, right? And so actually let's do this right here. Let me look it up real quick. Let me look up something to show you guys something. Tennessee, what would point me in the right direction? All right, hang on. I need to figure out what department it is. Blount County Sheriff's Office. If you know the details about, well, let me read it, I guess. Was the suspect? Well, I don't want to. Oh, I guess he was. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, let's see. That's just an alert, but they ended up, he got arrested. Let's see. Trying to figure out just a little bit of the backstory. Because I mean, whatever happened, it wasn't a normal traffic stop. I mean, the way he was sitting in the grass tells me that something else was going on. If you have information, you can put it in the chat while I'm looking at this. My wife will read it. Traffic stop escalating into a shooting. So the guy had been driving on the wrong side of the road. They pull over. Replies that he was busy tying his hair up and didn't notice that he was driving on the wrong side of the road, I guess.
That's what he said. He said he was driving the wrong way for a few miles before being pulled over, is what he got out of the report.
Okay. Refused to get out of the car. So I think I'll touch on two different things. Firstly, there has to be a point in time when you're dealing with somebody in a vehicle where you have to recognize that you're not going to be able to gain control of this person, and you need to like remove yourself from the situation, and just conduct a felony stop from the rear of your vehicle. Put as much of your vehicle between you and the bad guy as possible. There's just so much that can go wrong right there at the driver's door. I mean, you cannot account for what he's reaching over on the other side. He has his seatbelt on. So how do we get his seatbelt off? Well, somebody has to reach over him and get his seatbelt off. Yeah, sure. There's a technique to do that where you like, crush the guy's face up against the back of the headrest, but that's a big guy, and those officers, I would just guess, don't train, aren't that physically fit. and aren't capable of doing that, period. And so I think like saying, well, be capable, right? And work out and be strong and learn these vehicle extraction techniques. Well, one is asking for something that isn't going to happen and isn't a solution to the problem because we're trying to convince people to be different people, and that's not going to happen. Um, so so what I would say, like, there has to be a moment in time where you realize, hey, listen, let's just back up, right? And what I kind of posted on the Instagram about that is think of it like a game of like hot and cold. Like the closer you are to the threat, the hotter it is, and the more likely the harder it is for you to account for what he's doing and be able to react in time to do something, right? So like what's the best thing that can happen in that case? The best thing is you go back and he walks out, puts his hands up and surrenders. Like he probably wasn't going to do that, right? But if he doesn't listen, he's not coming out, then that's fine. Like we're just gonna keep working it, keep calling him out, call more people, call more assets. Um, and so that's what should have happened. But that happens a lot like that. There's another situation where officers pulled over a guy who they knew had guns. Like that was the reason for the stop. I don't know if it was a sale of a gun or something that happened. And they're doing all this stuff at the driver's door and he's refusing to come out. And sure enough, he pulls a gun out and starts shooting. And he shoots, I think maybe a couple cops, and it's a big gunfight and cops laying on the ground at slide lock. And like that should have never happened. Like you should have conducted, a felony stop. We associate a felony stop with pointing our guns at people that are coming out of cars. And yeah, I mean, that's can happen, but it doesn't have to be that. Like in Texas, we can order people out of the car for any reason, right? Obviously, make it make sense. But I did it the other day, right? So you can request that people come out of the vehicle. So, okay, this guy has a gun, right? Well, we know approaching vehicles on traffic stops is dangerous. So if we believe that he has a gun, I don't want to be in that position where I'm, leaning over to ask him for his information. So, in that situation, not the Tennessee one, but you already knew the dude was doing a transaction for guns and he had a warrant or something. Like he's going to jail. So call him out, and if he doesn't come out, you're just gathering information, gathering intel. And the best thing, like say you actually have to go up there because like we're the guys. There's nobody to call. We're the guys. Well, to increase your chances of survival, if you have a shield, that's going to be in your best interest. And then you have to work that really screwed up situation with a shield from, it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be mayhem, but that's the way that you would have to do that. And in this situation, you have to just identify like we're not gaining anything here by staying here. And I don't believe either of those officers had their gun out, right? I think one had a taser, or maybe did the deputy have a gun out that got shot? I think he might have, or maybe that was his taser. But you don't deploy a taser. Well, I guess you do, but lethal coverage, right? So I think like in that specific instance, you have to identify like we're not going to be able to do this. We're on the X right here. Like it's the equivalent of standing in the doorway, um, and calling out to somebody who's refusing to come out, and you can't see inside the house. Like that's what that is. Actually, my next video or one of my next videos is going to be on this, and I'm going to show how improbable it is for you to be able to identify a threat and engage that threat before he has a chance to engage you. And it doesn't happen. So, what happens is the bad guy gets off around at least. Like, yeah, okay, we all might shoot into the car. I might shoot him, but that round is already gone, right? In my direction. And it just happened to not hit me. So, okay, wow, success. Like I got the guy. Well, no, like the best thing that you can do is that he actually gets out of the car with the gun because then you can clearly identify that he has a gun and you can address it as necessary. So I'll just tell you the other day, um, it was I'll be very general, so I'm not giving away specific information, but reports of a person with a gun. And I found the car and did a traffic stop. Did I walk up to the car? Like, no, I didn't. I stayed at my car, called for backup, and asked the guy to step out of the vehicle. Hey, come on. And what does that sound like? Like, it sounds like, hey, man, step out and come talk to me real quick. And that's how I said it. Like, hey man, step out, come talk to me real quick. And he stepped out, turned away from me and put his hands up, you know? And like we weren't even there yet. And I was like, hey, you're good. Just relax. Just come here. Like I downplay it, right? Somebody that steps out of the car with their hands up like this is like submitting to like I don't have anything on me, right? And I want him to I want him to feel comfortable, right? Because the psychology of it. So I want him to think this isn't a big deal, right? So called him out of the car, and when he got closer to me, like, all right, hey, let me turn around, pat you down for weapons, pat him down. He didn't have anything, and have him stand at the hood of my car and talk to him. And I just said, hey, look, don't be weird. I'll be cool with you. You be cool with me. And he's like, yeah, it's cool. So that goes a long way. And I would have liked for my backup to get there sooner. But they were coming, but my plan was to continue him feeling comfortable because I knew I was going to handcuff him from the very beginning. Once he got back to me for reasons, but so I wanted to make it look like I was doing this like just running his information and hey, it's cool, we're all good. Like, uh, just be cool, I'll be cool, and you'll be on your way. And then like so much time was going by and my backup wasn't coming. It just got to the point where, all right, I just got to start talking to this guy some more. So started having the conversation with them and you know, about some other things that were going on. And like, hey, look, like you're not under arrest. I just got to detain you real quick. Like it's no big, just don't worry, it's no big deal. Like doing that the whole time, right? The dude could have a gun in the car, because that was like the report, right? And it turned out, well, I didn't find it. Let's put it that way. So yeah, that goes a long way. I'm really big on the psychology of communicating with people and in a way like manipulating the way that they getting into their head a little bit in a way that they think like, okay, this is gonna be good. Like I'm gonna be good and I'm gonna get out of here. And he did eventually, but yeah, I don't know if I think I answered your question about the Tennessee deal. Like the other couple weeks ago, like I ended up basically locating this vehicle. Guy did some stuff, whatever. Helicopter found him, and I ended up bumper to bumper to him so that he couldn't, basically reverse out of there. And another officer showed up, and I was at the back of my car, and he pushed up to where he was, 7 feet from the driver's door, yelling commands, pointing his gun at him. And it took me, you know, uh, 3 or 4 times to convince him to move back. And, when he's standing there looking at the car, someone's coming up like, hey, where are your keys? And he's looking around for his keys, and you know, um, like cops just can't identify. Like first of all, we don't want to shoot, right? Like we don't want to shoot people. Like you don't want to do it. The department doesn't want you to do it, and you're placing yourself in a position where it's more likely that you will, right? But it's also just you're at a tactical disadvantage to that first round. And it's that old thing where it always works out when the guy has a gun, but he's like not pointing it at you, and it and you see it, right? But that's not the standard. The standard isn't a lackadaisical bad guy. The standard is like a true believer, like somebody that's willing to die today. And when you come across that person, all that other stuff that you've been doing isn't going to work. That's it.
Oh, I was wondering if you were.
I don't believe it's threaded. Oh, are you reading it anymore? Or are you not?
I mean, I was waiting for you to
Oh,
finish up. Is NIR a concern for SWAT?
what? Say it again.
NIR. Do you know what NIR is?
I don't.
What makes a police department good to work for? What should one look for?
Oh, it's a good question. I've had that question a lot. And this is my answer. Well, first of all, find officers that work for the department, doing the thing that you think that you want to do, try to, and ask them. A good place to do that would be in the Surviving the Street community, because there's a lot of cops in there from a lot of different places that have information that you might want, and the link for that is in the description. But I like when departments highlight the proactive part of policing, because that's what I like. And I think that's what a lot of people, well, get excited about or whatever. I mean, people become cops for different reasons, because they want to do a specific thing. But yeah, so try to find an agency that just at face value appears that they're highlighting the thing that you like. And I would just say, let's just talk about being proactive, and I don't want to say getting in chases or whatever, but just like getting the bad guy, like finding the worst guy that you can and putting him in jail. And if it seems like the department is highlighting that type of behavior, that's a good sign, right? Because there's agencies that pretty much like don't want anybody to think that that's happening. And that's a shame. So you can do that kind of through Instagram, right? So like there's, what is it, Dark Horse, I think, is it Phoenix, Arizona. Um, there's a couple other ones I can't think off the top of my head that allow, like cameras with their cops, and like monitoring that thing, and highlighting that type of work. So yeah, look there. Look into, like, again, if you're into the tactics and the shooting, all that, like maybe try to figure out what some of their policies are around gear and equipment. And if the department is like, you absolutely have to wear, leather everything on your belt, I probably wouldn't work there, to be honest with you, because it's just not the best stuff. If they don't allow red dots on their pistols, wouldn't work there. If they don't allow handgun lights on your pistols, I wouldn't work there. Like, because it's not necessarily about like, well, we can train around it and we can be good without all that stuff, etc. Sure, you can. The problem is that you're indicating your inability to identify, well, advances in technology firstly, but the benefit of having those things, right? And if you can't if you're not identifying what I would consider basic necessities, it's a problem to that is probably not just isolated to those things, but probably, to training as well. Like those are basic decision things that can be made that require, really, I guess it does require training, but in terms of money, like, and you know, for the department, like, okay, officers, if you want red dots, buy your own. These are the ones that are approved. Here's a red dot class. Um, like I think at one point New York had like 12-pound trigger pulls on their Glocks. Like that's absurd, and that's a sign that they're so afraid of uh officers having to do their job, so things like that, kind of try to figure out what that is. If you find things like that, stay away from that.
Muzzle brake or compensator on AR for home defense?
I'm not very good at answering that question. You'll come to find out I'm not a really big gear guy. I don't think it matters, because you're probably not going to use it inside your home, and when you do, you're not going to care. Like if you had to shoot your gun inside your house, the last thing you're going to be thinking about is like the recoil management and you know, what is it? Not concussion, but you know what I'm getting at, blowback or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that for you. I apologize, but get a suppressor. I will say though, like suppressors are legit. So if you can have one on your gun for work or wherever, how's it when I look into the camera? Is it better? It's weird. How is
But
this?
it looks like you're looking at the people.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry guys. I'm learning. But it is, I feel like I like looking at myself for some reason.
Of course you do.
No, I'm just saying. Um, so suppressors. It's weird. Like I was around guys that like didn't like them or want them because they thought it was heavier on their gun or whatever. Obviously the barrel length of your rifle matters, because if you have, you know, 13-inch gun or 12-7 or whatever, like I have, and you put a suppressor on there, it could be extra long. But suppressors are I'm gonna one day when I actually get a suppressor, I'm gonna do like a funny video that nobody talks about. But when you shoot a gun with a suppressor, it's like actually a lot easier to shoot the gun because of the benefits of having a suppressor. And nobody tells you that, right? They're just out there shooting on their range like all fast and stuff. And it's like, dude, it's crazy how easy it is to shoot a gun with a suppressor on it. But anyways, one of the reasons why I like suppressors, is that's really the big reason. But also the vehicle class that I teach, I think I talked about this last night, but getting up into the V position, there could be some issues to having to mitigate your offset with your rifle, your red dot, and your muzzle if you're not beyond the V of your vehicle. It's not a big deal if you shoot your car like in an engagement because like, oh, that's embarrassing, or man, your car's messed up. It's just not good because that round is not going to the person, it's going into your vehicle. So the suppressor allows you to more likely get your muzzle beyond the V position and mitigate that problem. So that's really why I like it a lot too.
Josh Miles said, I love when you look at me with intent.
With intent?
Yeah, like looking at the camera.
That's kind of weird.
Have you heard of ICAT?
Yeah, I have. I think that's the crimes against children, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Something like that.
ICAT? I don't know.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I could look it up right here. Is that the next question? But I don't really know. But I think it's ICAT is the internet stuff. Is the use of force training? No. I don't know. Communication assessment and tactics. Integrating communication assessment and tactics. I don't know. I haven't heard of that, I guess. Someone asked a question about morale or something. Glory V.
What do you think affects a department's morale? Why do cops tend to leave departments or transfer?
There's a bunch of different reasons why they leave departments. You have to ask the individual, because I know my partner left, but then he ended up coming back. And a lot of people leave and do come back. I mean, people leave just because they find out the job isn't for them, or they don't want to deal with people. And I'm also inclined to believe that most people leave because they feel like there's a better opportunity. Because, being a police officer, you have to deal with a lot of stuff. I mean, that's the fun of it, but obviously that can be annoying isn't the right word, but constant pressure, and leaving is always an option, but not because I think like you have to have an avenue to go somewhere else. And most cops leave actually to go to other departments. So they might say like, okay, I work for a big city, but I'm going to go work for a small town, which means like you're still a cop, you're just doing way less and probably getting paid maybe less or the same, right? I think morale affects officers on the job, but in terms of wanting to do the job and being motivated about the job, but I don't know that morale forces people out of the job necessarily. I feel like there's maybe more reasons for that.
I have a question. Have you ever experienced burnout?
Burnout,
like,
yeah,
like
burnout. Well, I think that sure, yeah, but I think that the being burned out from the job is self-inflicted mostly.
How do you get out of that though?
You realize that like,
You're the problem.
yeah, basically. And I talk about this in a lot of my podcast episodes. You know, most cops, I say most cops, that's not the right thing to say, but a lot of cops focus more on the job than they focus on themselves. And the problem with that is you do so much for other people or the organization that your own health deteriorates, and you get to a point where you realize, or maybe you realize, or you don't, or someone else tells you, or other people notice it, like you're not the same person you used to be. And I think it's a problem. Like, I think your family is the most important thing, if you have a family, of course. I'm sure you do. Whether it's your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, whoever. And your job, like as a police officer, ultimately is a job. But when you die, like somebody else is going to have your job. Um, you know, and you're going to be remembered for a certain period of time, maybe if you're on a large department, maybe not even all that long. But your family are the ones that are going to be affected by it. You not being here forever, right? Even officers that I've known or known of that have you know passed away on the job. There's, like, say for example, something happened to me. Like, people would come by my house probably for a little bit. Probably not many people, to be honest with you. Uh, but they would call my wife, maybe like, "Hey, here's my number. Let me know if you need anything." And then that would kind of stop after a while. And then so I think, like, you have to put more of your time and energy into your own life, because it's the only thing that you have, and you're going to spend a an absurd number of hours at your own job doing something for somebody else, really, which can be a noble thing, but at what cost? And a lot of cops, their uniform becomes their identity of who they are, and without the job, they're essentially maybe not nobody or whatever. But so, yeah, I think you have to recognize what you're doing and why you're doing it, and the reason that you're doing it, because you could get to a point in your job where your health is deteriorated. Most cops get divorced, you know. So I think, like, pace yourself. That's my response, especially for the newer cops. Like, there was a cop that I've run into a couple times at work who's like working all these extra jobs, and, "Oh, I just got off the club job," or whatever. Like, dude, you need to relax, like, calm down. Uh, it's hard to tell newer cops though, because they want to get after everything and do everything. So just be careful.
Scuba Steve is asking about NIR again.
I did say that. I don't know what that is. Don't try not to use abbreviations if you can, because if I don't know, then we have to ask. Just use the whatever the term is, and then put, like, parentheses NIR. That would be helpful. What's the divorce rate for cops? I don't know, but I know a lot of them. Is it? Oh, I was talking to a cop today that is going through a divorce. He's looking for an apartment or whatever. So, yeah, it happens. And if you're going to be on a SWAT team,
53%.
and if you're going to be on a SWAT team, you're going to spend a significant time amount away from your family, and you're going to get called into work all the time, and they're going to expect that your job is more important. And they might tell you, like, "Oh, like, family first," but yeah, you're a servant to them.
I'm reading about what NIR near impaired glow under night vision. That's what NIR.
What does it mean?
Near infrared.
Oh, infrared.
Oh, I don't know what.
I can't see it, but what does it say? Say the whole thing.
Near infrared glow under night vision.
Is it a concern for SWAT? Like, I don't understand really the question. I mean, just at the word infrared is not a concern, like, for SWAT, because it's never been part of a conversation really.
What is that? What does that mean? What's
Like,
infrared?
white hot, red hot,
Oh, like when,
like the helicopters.
yeah, like
Yeah.
the video you showed me of the, like from the helicopter where you guys were taking the vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a funny story to tell when you were on patrol?
Oh, I got one. I don't know if I can. Let's see if I can tell it. I think I can tell it. This happened the other day. This is like the only time, or well, it didn't happen the other day. This is one of the only times I can remember that I ever lost my bearing and couldn't keep it together. It was just something else. But I got to kind of be general. I can't like give real be real specific. But an individual called the police because he said that he was taken from one location by a certain individual, and he was a male and the individual was a female, and got there, and like he was like in a panic, and she was kind of calm, and he's saying that you know she took him from where he was on another side of town. And you have to ask the questions like, well, how do you know her? Well, I don't know her. It's like, well, what do you mean you don't know her? Like, never seen her before? No, I haven't. And I'm like, it just doesn't make sense, because like what you're saying doesn't make sense. But he kept using the terminology like she snatched me up, like she snatched me up. And he was he's a little bit taller than me, but he's a muscular dude. And she was not someone that you would think would be able to snatch somebody up. And after he said it like the third time, I laughed. And I was I was like, I laughed. I was like, I'm sorry. And he didn't like that, of course, that I was, laughing, but it was so absurd that I'm like, "Come on, dude." And he just kept saying it, and then like some time went by, and he's telling me again. He's like, "Man, you don't believe me? She snatched me up." And I laughed again. I said, "Listen, stop saying that." um, and I ended up giving him a ride and doing a report or whatever. But we were cool. Me and him were cool. I'm like, listen, it's not that I don't believe you, but the way that this looks. But it kind of turned out that they were in a very short relationship versus that they had gotten together through an application, and she had met him, picked him up, and that's what happened. And he's like, yeah, we did that, but whatever. And I'm like, okay, like this is crazy. But that thing was uh man, that was I called you after that. Yeah. And I was laughing. It was just funny. Um, but not very often there's funny things happening like that. Not that long ago, we ran a call. The guy wasn't supposed to be in this building or whatever, and there's a lot of people that are in places they're not supposed to be because they've been asked to leave and they're not. And got to the location. It was a hotel, and the guy had done some stuff. He'd like trashed some things or whatever. Like, and here's a little tactical thing for you. It's like I saw the guy. He was sitting at where he was sitting, and I didn't approach him. He was minding his own business. He didn't see me, so I just waited. I waited and watched him, like, and then I waited for backup. And then I said, "Hey, he's sitting right here. We'll go talk to him." Right? That's like tactics, right? You don't have to go talk to that guy by yourself right then. I feel like I could handle myself, but there's no point. Like your backup's coming, just wait. Anyways, go talk to him, and he's being mostly compliant. No, he's being compliant and detain him. And do all the running and all that stuff. And he had some things going on, and he was, I think, probably homeless. Um, and he was like mostly being, reasonable. And typically, we always try to find a place for somebody to go that they want to go to if it's a reasonable distance from where we are. So give people rides, just to separate them from the problem, and so that they don't come back and continue to be a problem where they are. Um, anyways, put him in the back, and for whatever reason, I did ask him like, "Hey, do you have somewhere you want to go?" And he's like, "No, I'll just walk." I'm like, "Okay, seems like a reasonable guy. Things are going okay. I feel like he's gonna walk away." And I was like, "All right, man, let him out." Hang on, I gotta plug in my computer. There we go. So I take him, or I let him out. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna walk." I'm like, "All right." So I let him out, unhandcuff him. I'm watching him. I put my handcuffs away, and he walks like closer to the entrance, and I'm like, "Dude, just don't do this." He turns around, looks at me, and just takes his shirt off, and he just like takes his shirt off, and he just like throws it on the ground, and I'm like, and I'm like, and he's like balling up his fist, like doing one of these. And I was like, "What are you doing? Don't do that. Put your shirt on, put your shirt back on, and go. Like walk." Anyways, and that was like funny, because like I knew he wasn't gonna do anything, but I'm just like, oh my god, I should, because if you take them somewhere that they want to be, at a reasonable distance, and you just like drop them off, now you can leave him there because that's where he wanted to be. But in that case, he's still on the property, and now he's acting like this. I'm like, oh great. So he, for like 45 minutes, he continued to walk on the edge of the property and like do that kind of stuff. And I was just like, man, I screwed up. So there's a little lesson for you. But that was something funny that happened. But it's really not that often that people are having a good time. We're having a good time. We're having a good time.
They're laughing at your stories.
Yeah.
Great job on the new CTV upload. The video was well produced and easy to understand. Please keep them coming.
Thank you. I said it last night that video is going to be the best video. Like it's going to do the best. It's going to be the most well received. Whatever. So like when you post videos as a creator or whatever, your videos, you can see in your studio like how well they're doing compared to your other videos. And I said last night to people that were here that this video is going to probably be the most popular video that I've done. And that remains to be seen in terms of length or whatever, but so far it is by a long shot. And I wonder, I'll ask you guys, why do you guys think that is? And the reason that I said that it would be, because there's a very specific reason why I thought that it would be. Let me move this light real quick. I'd be impressed if somebody could guess the reason why I thought that it would be, and it is. It's just not. I move backwards, so now my light is not like in my face. It's like so the shadow underneath my hat, it like helps with that. You appealed to the tactical milsims with the thumbnail. Not really. That's not why, but a good guess. I mean, it's obviously it's a reason why, because your thumbnail is part of the reason why people click on your video, but just the picture that people see when they're browsing.
No, I know what a thumbnail is.
Oh, what was it?
What the thumbnail of the video was.
Oh.
The CQB for nerds.
Because you're challenging dogma? Yeah, I mean, kind of. But
What's dogma?
like the status quo, I think, basically. Yeah. That's what you'll see. You'll notice from the things that I come out with or whatever. I really try to make well, first of all, I have to believe what I'm saying is true, right? In the tactics that I'm explaining and demonstrating, I have to believe that it's the best information that I could possibly, you know, give you based on what I'm capable of, right? Capable of producing. And so I I think it's apparent and obvious that like what I'm showing you what I think is best. But in order for me to do that, I have to demonstrate it or do something, in the best way that I can. Um, and that's all it is. That's I don't know what other people are doing, or what else is out there. There's a lot of how to, right? Like this is how we clear a room. This is how we do this. Well, it just leaves it kind of open ended. It's like, okay, you know how to do that, but when do you do that? Why do you do that? Well, what happens if this happens? And then like what's also kind of reality? So and everything that I've done so far has always tried to been based off of the reality of the situation. So that people can, you know, uh, get what I think is the best information. So if you watch videos of people running into rooms because speed, surprise, and violence of action, and that's what you do, and that's all you know because that's all you've seen because that's mostly all that's out there. I guess you're inclined to believe like that's the way that you should do it, and maybe it's not. That's for you to decide.
It's the most successful because it's retraining that speech implant.
Navy SEALs and the reference to controversy. Boom.
Is that why?
Yeah. Because if you have Navy SEAL in your title, people want that. People like that. That's I don't say buzzword, but
Oh, I see the title. I was just looking at the thumbnail.
yeah, that's the reason why. I knew that I was going to have that in the title. Um, I don't necessarily know what my titles are. I more or less, so like the way that they say to do it is like you should have a title and base your video off your title, and you should already know what your thumbnail is. I really don't. I because I think it's different for me because I'm like educational on specific things. So my title and my thumbnail just kind of happen, actually more or less based on the video because sometimes I'll shoot the video and shoot everything like this last one, and there was stuff in there I took out. So, but I did know that I was basing that video off of the intro portion of what that Navy SEAL was doing because, I saw the video and I identified it as something that everybody would tell you is incorrect. Right. And so you see him collapsing the room down as he's moving towards the threshold, and he doesn't go in through the threshold. He continues to scan and engage. And if I did that, if somebody else did that and said, "Hey, this is what you should do," like absolutely every single person would have a problem with that. Every instructor, every person who has an opinion. But like it makes the most sense because when he's doing that, he doesn't expose himself inside of the room and he's already cleared what's directly in front of him. Here's another thing that you probably didn't notice. Why do you think that? And this is again a testament to the realities and the dangers of thinking that you're capable of doing that thing. Um, if you go back and watch the video, you'll notice that the bad guys shoot before he does both times, right? Those flashes, those are muzzle flashes from the bad guy because he's shooting probably simunition of some sort, you know. And guess what? In real life, those are rounds that are flying at you. So it's not like Navy SEALs or Green Berets, or whoever have this magic, are just so magically capable that when the standard exists, which is a bad guy with a gun, like you're going to be the first guy to shoot that person. No, you can't be, right? Especially under low light, no light, and under night vision. Because from that distance, and I don't know for sure if he had nods on at the time. I don't think he did. Maybe he did. But that's hard to identify because that looks like a mass, like a blob from that distance with nods on. And I've been in those situations. I stepped center or was clearing a hallway on like a hostage rescue deal. And when I kind of stepped and looked center into the room, there was two people that were standing near each other. And I didn't know who the bad guy was until he already shot at me with a shotgun. And so, okay, boom. And then it's like, oh, you're the bad guy. Because it just takes time to clearly identify. And in law enforcement, especially like you have to be right. Well, I say that, some recent events that happened, but I especially like when you're on a team and you are, I would say it's, I won't say it's more stringent when you're on a team and you're training and you shoot a no shoot hostage person. But when you do that, that's bad. Like everybody, it's just there's repercussions, so to speak. And so I just think like, especially in training, like I'm not gonna be that guy. I'm not gonna shoot my buddy or whoever, and that happens, and it's not gonna be me. So I'm really gonna make sure, and maybe that factors into like the time of being able to assess. But by the time I realized the guy was holding a gun, he had already shot me. So, or shot at me because it's blanks. So if you go back and watch those videos, both of those bad guys are shooting at him before he ever shoots. And in real life, those are rounds, right? That are coming at you. And, the only way you actually hit those individuals is if those rounds don't hit you. Well, obviously you're vast or whatever, you could fight through it or whatever, but that's the reality. I don't think that there's a lot of CQB. Well, first of all, CQB is like this thing that is, I don't want to say it's oversold, but everybody wants to do it. And that's why I started the video with like, first of all, you need to understand that CQB is going to be the least likely thing to save your life as a police officer because, police officers, well, first of all, patrol officers get in the most shootings in the most confined spaces and kill the most people inside of structures than any team, right? And they get the least or no training on the matter, right? They engage hostage takers most often and get zero hostage training. And when officers shoot at people inside of structures, they're not actually doing CQB while typically while that's happening. There are occasions where that is the case, but when officers are shooting at people inside of structures, they're either at the threshold, like, "Hey, come out here, let me talk to you," or whatever, or they're standing there talking to somebody, and a guy emerges from the back room, and then there's a shooting. But they're not usually in the act of CQB. And if you're someone says that, okay, yeah, they are, well, then you also have to admit that cops are overly successful at CQB because they're not usually getting killed, right? And we know that's not the case, or they are successful at CQB, which also means that they must have a lot of training, and they're not. So there are a bunch of things around CQB that are very valuable to know, like working angles and constant pressure on angles, just like that Navy SEAL, did in that video. Taking the first available opportunity to engage somebody who's waiting to shoot you. Understanding when you're exposed, working doors, right? Because really, CQB is a major factor when you're a cop and you're inside of a structure and you have to search it for somebody who may or may not be there. And that's people would consider that not CQB. You call it covert searching, which is what it is. It's just slow and methodical, which is the absolute best way you can do it because what you do is you have an opportunity to make decisions, usually with people you don't know, other cops that show up and don't know what they're doing. You really want to start taking rooms on people that have never done it before. So working doors is a big one. I talked the other night about how to do shower curtains. I've never walked up to a shower curtain and moved it. So there's all kinds of stuff like that that is valuable that you're not going to learn like taking a CQB course. Working doors from a distance, stuff like that. I've done a couple videos on working doors. Need to do another one probably. But I don't know what I was getting at. What I was doing.
M22 Tactical saying, "What's up? Love the whiteboard."
Love the whiteboard. Thank you. I'm going to use it more actually. But
The visual's good.
it was okay. I'm glad you guys liked it because I didn't like it. Well, what happened was I forgot to change the setting on my camera. So if you go back and look at the video, which I don't suggest you do, but you'll notice that my hands are blurry when they're moving, right? So like, I guess it's not really that effective right here. But there's what is it called? I have it written up here. Frames per second, right? So when you are adjusting the frames per second on your camera, like the lower the setting of the frames per second, the better quality of the image that you're going to have. So all of this is probably 24 frames per second. All of my videos where I'm sitting down is 24 frames per second because I'm not really moving while that's happening. But if I tried to shoot a video of me moving in 24 frames per second, it's going to be blurry. And I've learned the hard way by doing it all and then be like, okay, I'm done. This is great. And then be like, I can't even use this. So I forgot to do that. And that was a problem because my hands are blurry. And it's not a big deal, but it's a big deal to me. So yeah. Wait. Oh, give me a second. While you're waiting, like this thing that we're doing. Thanks. Here, you can have these. Well, hold that. Plug that into the microphone.
Got it.
Slap a like on it. There you go, guys. There you go. This is not a bad setup. It was like on the fly. If you were here in the beginning, it was sideways. And I thought that it would be able to do portrait. I got to look into that because that's what I wanted to do so that this would be seen on the feed, shorts feed, basically.
How do you even know how to work all this stuff? Self-made.
Talking to that real quick. All right, hang on. Wow. Can you hear yourself? Well, put your headphones on.
Are these my headphones now? You
Yeah.
should hold these.
Yeah, I can hear myself.
All right.
Where's the other pair of headphones? Okay, I got questions.
Okay. Give me a second.
Okay.
Got questions. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll start a live and I'll have like a purpose to it. But I kind of just like making myself available and sitting around and waiting for a question to come in because there's like no pressure, you know. It's just ask away if you have a question. It's just easier because I have too much going on to be like stressing myself out over a topic or having something written out. I guess a topic is okay, like, but you start like a live on a topic, and then other people come in. They're like, I don't want to talk about that, or I have nothing to say about that thing. But as long as that's why I just started like police related, police training, law enforcement, personal development is all relevant to this conversation. What's the question?
Okay. I'm 20 years old, getting ready to start the academy in 2 weeks. What advice do you have for young adult transitioning into law enforcement? What's something you wish you could have done different when you first started? You can kind of relate to this because you have your friend who just started going to the academy, and he's like 30, right? 35. PP?
Oh yeah. What's something that I thought or wish well, I guess like what's your previous like what'd you do before you were an officer? How old are you too? That's a good question.
20. He's 20.
Oh, he's 20. Okay, so you probably haven't done a whole lot, to be honest with you. You're 20. But what did you do? Did you go to college for a couple years?
Okay, while we wait for that, what's been going on BTS with the STS private group And will you be going into proactive or specific lessons or more general lessons for the public?
One question at a time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That was too much.
What has been going on BTS with the STS?
What's
private
BTS mean? I said, hey guys, listen, I like you, but try not to use acronyms because if I don't know what it is, I got to ask.
Abbreviation.
Sorry. I'll just say like the STS community.
Behind the scenes.
Oh,
babe.
behind the scenes.
I didn't
See,
know
you make
either.
me feel silly too. Like, oh, you should know that. So just don't do it. So you can learn a little bit about the Surviving the Street community by looking at the link that's in the description of this video, and will be in the link of probably every video that I do, right? And it is like a group that I formed, and I'm primarily the most active individual on there. There's 104, 107 now, people that are primarily law enforcement. There's a couple paramedics. There's cadets. There's people that aspire to be law enforcement. So it is law enforcement related, oriented. Each individual instructor is going to bring something unique to the group that they're experts in that certain craft. And for me, like right now, I'm tomorrow probably going to finish the 15-minute accountability program, law enforcement dry fire accountability program. And the way that I talk and the way that I present things is law enforcement related. And I talk about, well, on duty, like this is what you're going to do, right? I mean, but it doesn't necessarily only apply to officers, but like that course is with a holster that's attached to the side of your hip because that's what you do, right? It's not a concealed carry, which is what most citizens do. So the question would be like, well, is that applicable to a citizen? And maybe it is, maybe it's not. But there's certainly things in there that you could draw from, right, and apply it to what it is you want to do. So what I'm doing, I'll tell you what my plan is because I know what my plan is. I can't really tell you what the other guys are planning at the moment. I'm waiting for them to like finish this document that's being sent around of what they're going to do basically. But so I have the 15-minute dry fire accountability program that's basically done. And, my goal is for me, because my thing is, allowing people to become capable individuals if they choose to be, right? I know that cops generally, aren't going to go out and spend a bunch of money. They're not going to, they probably can't go shoot at their own range at their, their not academy, their department. It's not available to them. It's, whatever. So, they're not going to spend they're not going to go with a team and go clear buildings. They don't have a team available. So everything that I do and talk about, aside from, maybe the high risk vehicle encounters class that will be on there is all oriented towards like, if you follow this program or do these things, like you'll be better at these tasks all by yourself. And so that's why I'm doing the 15-minute accountability program, because I think that's a reasonable thing that if you're interested and you want to get better, you could do this thing. Like it's not a fees. It's not like, doesn't make a lot of sense to do like, hey, here's this program. You need an hour. Like it's an hour every day. It's like, I'm not saying like be lazy. Actually, it's the opposite. Like I'm giving like, and the 15-minute accountability program is not even really easy. Like you're tired and over it by the end of the 15 minutes. So you're getting, I'm really big on quality of work over quantity. So a lot of focus in 15 minutes. And, okay, I don't want to do it today. I don't want to do it tomorrow, but maybe you could do it twice a week, right? It's reasonable. And if you don't, then you're just not that interested in it, or you're being lazy, which is cool too. The next thing that I'm going to make readily available is basically after action debriefs of events that I was in or am in, where it's going to be me like sitting talking about it, but I'll try my best to use photos or use whatever. that's available and talk to, and that's just going to be available. It's not really an online course like a series, right? It's just like, here's an after action debrief of this thing. You can go watch it. Because, like the event that I was a part of the other day, there's a lot that I was thinking about, and there's a lot of things I kind of talked about it on here with the guy that was supposed to have a gun, right? And like cops find themselves in situations they shouldn't be in, and I think like they could listen to that and hear about it and go, oh, I never thought about that. Okay, yeah, I'm going to make that decision next time. It doesn't really require training, it just requires thought. So those two things are going to be like the first things that are done and available from me. And the after action stuff is going to be constant, like just posting one when I can, um, behind the scenes as far as that goes. I don't know if that answers all of your question. And then I'm going to have my exploiting accuracy. I'm going to have my high risk vehicle encounters class, and I'm going to have a foot pursuit class course. And, like the purpose of a course, like I would think, is to give the individual student the information and the resources available that they can actually do the thing. So, particular for me, the courses that I teach, let's say you're a proactive cop, asking you to go train 3 days a week at a facility. Well, one's probably not going to happen. Two, you're probably not going to do it. But I can guarantee you that if you're a proactive cop, you're going to be getting in the events that my courses, you know, um, prepare you for. And so what I do in my courses, not just the vehicle course, but the exploiting accuracy course, and what will be the foot pursuit course, is I actually have this conversation in the class, and I tell them like, do you think any of the cops that went through my class went and trained on their own afterwards the technique that I taught them? Probably not, because that's not what happens. Like, so what I tell them is like, you're probably not going to do that. I get it. Like, that's just the reality. But you are going to be getting into these situations for real. So think about it when you're doing it, talk about it afterwards, and make sure you're holding each other accountable. And that translates over to the execution of the thing when it actually matters. Um, Same thing with the exploiting accuracy class. And that's my goal. That's behind the scenes for me. But the community is it's a constant effort and work, and to grow the thing and to keep people there, because you can leave anytime. And I've said this, I don't know if you were here when I said it, but it's $10 a month. I mean, I had a couple people join and immediately like quit basically, or like cancel, I guess. So the about page is an opportunity to um, let people know what they're getting or what it's about, and maybe people get in there and they're like, ah, well, this was what I thought, so I'm out of here, which is cool. Like, you can do your own thing. But the community is a community of people, of cops, of people that have information. It's not like I'm answering all the questions. Everybody's answering questions. Everybody's asking questions and trying to help each other out. Like next Tuesday, we're going to have a meeting where a cadet that's going to the Utah Trooper Academy has questions. So I'm going to be there, and whoever else can show up that can help is going to be there too, because that's what communities do.
Sweet.
Did I answer it?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Oh, someone asked to quickly describe quickly describe the shower curtain method that you use, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could do this on cracked doors that aren't open all the way. But, so it's not really a quick thing. But let me tell you, there's an investigator from the area that I work. I think it was like 2017. He was looking for a suspect. I think he was a DA investigator, you know, looking for a suspect who had a felony warrant for, I think, like family violence, violation protective order or something like that, was going to serve the warrant or look for this guy at this house, and knocked on the door. Is he here? No, he's not here. Do you mind if we check? Yeah, you can check. They go in there. And I can just tell you, like, there isn't an investigator. Like, I do realize that some departments talk about, or they hold different titles that means something different. So like an investigator to me is basically a person who wears a suit kind of, or like dresses up or whatever, and has a holster and has a set of handcuffs and probably has a vest, maybe. I would assume if he's going in and looking, but other departments call investigators like their tactical teams, like they call them investigators. But anyway, that's not what this was. And long story short, they go in there and he goes into the bathroom and moves the shower curtain at point blank range. And the dude's standing there with a gun and shoots him a couple times. He drops his gun and shot him a lot, actually, I think, more than a couple. He picks up his gun and the bad guy tells him to get on his knees. So now he's on his knees bleeding, and the bad guy's pointing his two guns at this investigator. It's a crazy story. It's out there somewhere. I'd actually want to talk to the guy on the podcast, but I can't figure out how to get a hold of him. But so he ends up basically running out of there, finding an opportunity to like run out. And as he's running, the dude shoots him again. And he gets outside, and basically the bad guy ended up shooting himself, I believe. So I don't really need that story, though, to realize that that's not a good idea, because it's the same thing with vehicles. It's the same thing with doors. It's the same thing with you doing anything in close proximity to something when you can't see on the other side. And, you're just the risk is much higher where you are. So I've done this a lot, and plenty of people can attest to doing this, but get to a point where, let's just say the room's clear, but now you're at the bathroom and you could see in, and there's a shower curtain. Okay, well, I'm not going to go up there and move it because that's just a lose situation. And I would also argue, like, for people that are like speed, surprise, and violence of action, or like dynamic entries, guess what? Like, that's what you do, right? You go up there and you move it because we got to do this quick. So another reason why it's just not a good methodology. But anyways, find something within proximity to you and throw it at the shower curtain. I know that's like groundbreaking, right? But pillows, shoes, whatever, it doesn't, whatever is like not gonna like break stuff. And usually in the cities, like these shower curtains fall like off the rod and everything. So yeah, it'll come right down. And if it doesn't, just keep doing it until you're like, okay, I know somebody's not standing there, at least, because like it'll move. And you're like, okay, like pretty sure there's nobody there. Now let me go up and check. I did that not even that long ago. So it was like a stabbing and showed up there was a bunch of blood everywhere in the blood soaked shirt outside, and looked at the guy I was with and was like, doors open, let's go. So we go in there and I get to the point where that's what I see. Everything else was presumably clear except that. So, you know, is somebody going to jump out of the shower curtain and close distance on me while I'm looking for a pillow, or look down and like, okay, there's a shoe? Like, no. And if they do, you're going to know because you're going to hear it. So, yeah, don't do that. It's bad. Anything else?
Yeah, there's quite a few questions right here. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you were putting together a civilian platoon, what would be good physical standards, shooting standards, medical standards for 30 and up?
Say again?
If you were putting together a civilian platoon, what
Yeah.
would be good physical standards,
Oh,
shooting standards?
that's kind of like, not the cult isn't the right word. It's kind of like a militia question. I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know,
Maybe
man.
we should skip that one. Just
I mean,
be very general.
is there going to be really high standards for something like that?
I don't know.
Like I've seen like the platoons of civilians that are like covering the border or doing whatever they're doing, and I think you just have to be an able body. But like, I mean, it just depends on how difficult you want to make it. And I think safety is the most important, but I guess I can't really answer that. I apologize.
Why don't you have training weekends where you allow citizens to come out and earn the right to feel confident to help in any situation and Probably travel across the country. Probably start in Georgia.
I've addressed the civilian thing several times. I'm just not. It's not something that I do right now. I'm not. I can't. Don't have time. But it's not to say that in the future, when hopefully things can evolve, that we can do something that makes sense. And my big thing is always doing what I think makes the most sense. There's companies that do things for civilians that it doesn't make sense for me to do it. Like, they can do whatever they want to do, and I don't have a problem with it. It just doesn't make sense for me. And that's the same thing when it comes to teaching cops things. You know, I do the thing for cops in my training that they never do, which is getting them as close as possible to the real thing. Because I think that's the most valuable, and I think it makes the most sense. So I'm just focused on cops. What else?
I mean, the last couple, they're kind of like responding to what you're saying. I don't know if you want me to read them or you want to read them.
Wait, did I answer the guy's question about he's starting the academy? Did he ever come back and say? I said I need more information. Remember?
Oh yes, he did. That's gonna take a second. Hold the phone.
Next time I do this though, I gotta do it on my phone so that other people. We had like 60 people in here, and that's because. Anyway, I already talked about that. But yeah, is there any way to do it vertical?
Sorry. He said police cadet for the department I'm going in for.
Yeah, but I asked him like, what
did
did
you
he do before that? But he said, what was his original question? How to prepare for it, or what to expect? What should I know, or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you this. I don't know if you're working for a big agency, but this is like the reality of things. I'm not a big people person. Like, I kind of mind my own business at work, and I don't really necessarily associate with people, especially people of like higher ranks or supervisors or whatever. It's just not my thing because, again, I feel like I'm an intentional person and I do things for a reason, and I'm not gonna like go hang out with people or go do things for people because if it doesn't make sense. But I will say that if you can develop relationships, it's gonna serve you well. So you can decide if that's something that you want to do. To the point where maybe something happens and they can either discipline you or not, and they know who you are, and they decide not to do that thing. That happens. So if you know people or can begin to know people and do things for people, unfortunately, that will allow you some leeway, some freedom to stay out of trouble. So that's kind of advice that I give people that are starting out. Yeah.
He said he's working for a big and busy agency.
Yeah. Be impressionable in a good way and figure out who's, I don't say calling the shots, but you'll figure it out. You'll see. And if you want to, look, put it this way, especially if you work for a really large agency, let's say there's like 3,000 cops on the street. It was like, well, if your paperwork comes across people's desks and they don't know who you are, then there's no emotional attachment to like doing anything that is necessary, like whether it's necessary or not. So yeah, man, that's my, and I think like you say, well, if I would have known, I would have done anything differently. I don't know that I could have because again, that's just not who I am. If I would have even known or realized that, it definitely would have served me well the past year. But yeah, that would be my advice. I will say also too that here's a good thing. If you Wait, what was I gonna say? I forget. Dang. I apologize. Try to remember.
Do you shoot USPSA?
No, I don't. Never have. I was signed up for it. And then it got rained out. And actually I got an email recently that they canceled my account. There's a lot of things I'd like to do, but I don't have time. And I know like people, talk about that's an excuse. You have time. Do I have time?
You have 4 kids.
I know. But I do whatever I can do from my home. And I know there's value in doing that, but it is also fun, right? To go and do those things. I mean, people wouldn't do it if they weren't having fun doing it. And it's not that I don't like to have fun, but like I said, I'm an intentional kind of person. And so like everything that I do usually feels like work, and it usually is work. So even if I go to the range and I can make it out to the range and I'm shooting, like I have to have a plan of what I'm doing and what I'm working on and make it as valuable as possible. So I just don't I do what I can from my house, mainly because I have kids and or kids, wife, married, all this stuff. But leaving your house to go do things for fun isn't necessarily it sounds bad or not, but like it's not really an option. That's real life. I'm 33 years old and I don't do anything for fun, really. I mean, I like this stuff and I like what I'm doing and I like working on the things that you guys see. That's fun for me. But I can't go do I don't want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I think when you're I don't know. I'm not speaking for everybody, but if you have kids, if you have 4 kids, you have 3 kids, or you've been married a long time, um, I don't say like guilty, right? Like if you go and do something for yourself, you're like, oh, this is fun. I'm gonna go have fun. Like me and the guys, which I don't do that, but like say you're golfing, I don't golf, but like, hey, I'm gonna go out for a Sunday and golf with the guys. I guess like you should be able to do that, and that should be okay. But for me, if I was to do something like that, you'd like feel guilty about it because you're like, I could be at home with my kids, but I'm having fun. I don't know if I'm saying all that accurately, but maybe
It
people
sounds right.
understand.
I feel like that for like 5 minutes, and then I'm like, no,
I am having fun.
F them kids. Oh, there's another question. If you are rolling up to active shooter, would you want help from able bodies or rather people just get out of your way?
I don't think there's time to like get help. Like, and if it's an active shooter, like you're just trying to stay focused on the task, which is stop the killing if that's still happening. And I would be weary. Like I don't know what help is. Like another person with a gun to be like, no, like that's why I'm here, you know. And you don't know what their capabilities are. You don't even know if they're like a bad guy in the moment. Obviously, you can kind of get that idea. But it would be very situational. If you get to a point where there's a lull and something's happening, someone asks, "Hey, you need help?" Like, I'm a paramedic, or "Hey, I'm a concealed carry," or "I'm off duty, like I can help you out." But that's tricky because in an active shooter, like cops are responding and they're looking for people that have guns that don't look like cops. And so that could also be problematic. So I don't want to say like get out of the way, but like it's just too fast paced to be trying to delegate tasks to people that you don't know are capable of completing those tasks. And also, it could be problematic. Like even as an off-duty cop, that could be problematic. There's an active shooter, and you're like, I'm gonna go take care of this, but it's like been going on for 5 minutes. Because like I would just say like cops have especially in an active shooter. If you see somebody pointing a gun at somebody, you're responding to an active shooter, there's a good chance that you're going to believe that that person is the shooter. That actually happened. And a civilian got killed. The civilian killed the bad guy, and then the cop killed the civilian. I found that it's not all that long ago. There's video too. The guy showed up at like a park or something. A civilian responded and shot him, and then the cop showed up and thought he was the shooter. Yeah. So it's just like, as a citizen, and as an off-duty cop, like, your goal should be like protect your family. And if you're in an advantageous position to prevent serious bodily injury or death within like relatively short period of time, definitely something to consider that you could do something, but be very weary about looking like a bad guy because you have nothing to identify you as not. So just be careful. Yeah, I know who Ben Stoker is, and I have some of his stuff.
How could that citizen have prevented being shot by the cop? Lay his gun down?
Yeah, like, not that, but reholster, like, immediately. Like, as soon as the threat's down, reholster. You just don't want to be holding the gun. There's a crazy video body camera that I thought was insane. Again, I don't remember where it is. I think it's on my Instagram, I believe. I don't think it's on the YouTube. I don't remember the details. The cops were investigating like a shooting at a complex. It was at night. There was snow. And I think like while the cops are investigating it, they get into an engagement with like two people with guns, and they're actually shooting back and forth. I think a cop gets hit and goes down. And it's so odd because there was like at least one, if not two citizens that happened to be armed. I'm like, what kind of apartment complex is this? They seem like reasonable people, and they were like covering the cops as they were down and holding on stuff. And that's a different situation because they're coming to your aid, right? Versus you're responding to something and you don't know who the bad guy is. So pretty crazy. It happens, but be weary. I mean, cops do things with other cops, and you're like, don't do that crap around me. There was one I saw the other day where an officer was walking closing distance there was a shooting, I believe, and they were like approaching the vehicle, and the one cop was walking like to the side, but behind the other cop who was like this, and he had his gun like right by the other cop's head as they were walking up. And like, yeah, I mean, you might shoot me, so don't do that. But even if you shoot at all, that's not going to be fun. I mean, it could kill you too. The concussion of the muzzle gases could kill you if it's too close to your head, fracture your skull. So just be careful.
It happened in Colorado, I think.
Because the snow.
I think we're all caught up.
Sweet. Two hours.
It's been 2 hours already.
Yeah, I guess when you do these, I guess they post automatically, or you can have them not post. But doesn't really help if other people aren't seeing this. So I gotta get the vertical thing going.
How do you do that? It has to be on your
Am I
phone.
bald? No.
Someone asked if you were bald?
I haven't had a haircut in a while.
Funny but serious question.
Like there's hair under here. It's just it'd be pretty wild if I took my hat off. I have been bald several times.
That's funny.
So when people ask me what concealed carry handgun I recommend, I say anything higher caliber than a 22, a semi-automatic gun, and one that you'll actually carry. So whatever that is, I have a Glock 43X. Just go to the gun store and see which one you're comfortable with that feels good in your hands. I just go for the smallest thing that is reasonable because I'm a small guy. So I know dudes that carry like 1911s and they carry Glocks and SIGs and all full size guns, and I cannot do it. Just not going to happen. And I think the most important thing is that you have something that goes bang, because most people don't carry like all the time. So, and it's because like comfort, like it's uncomfortable. It's digging into my side. I can't find the right holster. You end up spending $450 on 3 or 4 different holsters trying to find the right one, and then you just give up. So, yeah. I like to shoot the Canic, honestly. They look cool. They feel good. Single action revolver with one in the wheel. That's cool. Probably won't need any more than that, but I just prefer to have as many rounds as I could just in case World War III. What does that mean? Since you're no Jack Bauer.
Since we have no Jack Bauer.
I don't know who that is.
Who's Jack Bauer?
I don't know. I forget. I think I should know. What does that mean?
Jack Bauer?
What are you worried about happening with your detective nose?
It's a detective.
In terms of what citizens should be most worried about? I think I don't know. Anyways, like I've talked about this a couple times too. Like you should, as a citizen, you should focus on not making yourself a victim of a crime. And you got to kind of know what the crimes are that are being committed, and you have to know what to look for so that you can remove yourself from a situation or not be in a place where those things are happening. They can happen anywhere, but more likely to happen in certain places. Like if my wife drives somewhere, like don't stop anywhere, just come straight home.
Don't carry a purse.
Yeah, I recommend that my wife does not carry a purse, and when she does have one on, I like probably question her about it
Every single time,
because you're making yourself a target, and there's people that snatch purses and rob people of their purses and will drag you, as far as they have to until they can remove you from your purse. And I've watched it happen. And so if you just don't have your purse, then you're not a victim of that particular crime. You might say, well, you shouldn't have to do that. And I'm carrying my purse. It's like, okay, go ahead. And I agree, you shouldn't have to, but you should have a little bit of respect for that because it happens. People get followed from banks every single day and either get robbed or they get their stuff broken into, their cars, and that happens every day a lot where I work, and take reports all the time for that. And I wouldn't even go to the bank if I was you, but that depends on where you work, where you live. Like if you live in a small town, it's like small towns are just a different thing. Major cities are just a different thing. Like I've watched suspects at banks right around where we live because we were doing an investigation there, and watch these bad guys watch the banks and follow people off. And so when I talk to people that are regular citizens, like talked to my dentist a couple weeks ago about that. I was like, do you go to the bank? No, I don't. Okay, that's good. Like, well, I should be able to go to the bank. Yeah, you should, but you also shouldn't if you don't have to. Business owners get followed from their business, or they don't maybe get followed from their business. I guess they do, but they know who they are and they wait for them to go and draw the money for their business, and they follow them and they rob them. That happens. So hire a police officer or whatever. Just be aware. cars are following you. Like, again, depends on where you live. It could be a non-factor to you, but it's a possibility where we are.
Going back to the Jack Bauer thing, I believe he's from a TV show. People are saying 24, and then someone said 24 was peak TV. I've never. What is 24?
I don't know. 24 hours?
I wonder if we live under a rock.
I don't watch TV really.
Nash Bridges. Do you know who Nash Bridges is?
Yeah, but that's like a Chuck Norris kind of thing. Chuck Norris.
Kiefer
Is it Chuck
Sutherland?
Norris and Nash Bridges? Are those two people together? I don't know.
Is he one and the same?
No, they're not the same.
Chuck Norris is everything. You know those Chuck Norris jokes.
Yeah. Nash Bridges is meh. Kiefer carried that show so hard. It's supposed to make a comeback. I hope it's good.
Are they when was this show out? Like when was this a thing?
Nash Bridges. It does sound very familiar. If I saw it, I'd know, but I don't watch TV. I can't even make it through a movie. I definitely can't make it through a series. I've never made it through a series of anything.
Yeah, definitely not.
The most I watch now is if there's like something that's good on Netflix that comes out that looks like it's a good movie, but I'm very particular, and like a documentary, I'll watch those. I was talking about this. What were we talking about this today? But the last movie that we saw was that bird movie, and the last
Migration.
The last few movies that I saw were kids movies in the movie theater.
Yeah. Oh, do you use or trust the Shield Arms mags for the Glock?
Yeah, I have them. Oh, my gun's not in here. Yeah, they're good. I like them. I use them. But I've actually used them for a long time, and they're all beat to crap, and they work well. Never had an issue. I wouldn't buy Terran Tactical. I think they're trash. I've used them, and they've failed on me. Strike Industries. I have a couple of different sets of mags, but Strike Industries has served me well. I have a couple different modifications on my gun that are them. They have their magazines, extenders that are good. I like them. I don't know if they have metal ones. I think they probably do, but mine are polymer. But I have Shield Arms too that are just beat to crap, and they're still good.
I was Googling the show 24. It came out in 2001. I don't think. I don't know. What are the best states to be a cop in based on laws, etc.? I know Texas is a pretty good state for that.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Texas is probably up there. Probably the number one, to be honest with you. But it's not necessarily. I mean, it is like state, but you should understand that each state has, each county has a district attorney, and each county has judges, and the district attorney and the judges they're running the show. So as far as what it's like being a cop, and that will also not inflict isn't the right word. Influence your job as a cop. I talked about this the other night or somebody on my last podcast. If you haven't seen that one, the officer that I was talking to, he brought up, he's like, yeah, we arrested somebody that you arrested a few weeks ago, again, last night, on felony charges for assaulting his. And when I arrested him, he was out on bond for aggravated assault on that same person and those kids or whatever, or the woman. And then he assaulted the woman, choked her, hit the kids, and I arrested him. And he got out. I guess he said the charges were dropped because they just were, and it was no fault of my own. I mean, I would look at the county that you're going to work for, more or less, rather than, or also the state. So where I work, I wouldn't suggest that you work here because it's a revolving door of nobody being held accountable. But the county adjoining our county, or one of them, like you go to jail for a long time when you do crimes there, to the point where bad guys, like when I was doing the proactive investigations thing, like undercover, they just got like their asses handed to them. I can say that, but like there was a time where we were following crooks and we were like just going north on this major freeway and we're just like, oh man, I hope they go. And they did, and we're like, let's go. Because like we just knew like if we get them doing a crime there, they're gonna be screwed. Long story short, they did do the crime, which is a smash and grab of a jewelry store, and we got him. The one dude was out on bond for murder from the county that I work in. But all those dudes got like no less than 20 years. So it was like, that's awesome, And they had robbed, or however you want to call it, like 15 like pawn shops. So, and before they got caught. And so like, yeah, like the county I work in, it's like, well, we're only going to charge them with one of those and we're going to give them probation. So look into that.
Yeah.
Texas is good, but you got to look at the DAs, and that can change, but maybe even look at the history. Like, well, what has like the history of the DAs been in this county? If it's predominantly, I'm not like a politician or get into the discussion about politics, but it just seems like Republicans tend to like try to punish people that do bad things, whether that's true or not. Seems to be like the criteria. So that's something to consider for sure. And then like look into policies about where you're going to. Chicago, I think, has a policy where you can't chase people on foot now or something. So that sucks. I mean, people just stop doing their job when you just tell them they can't do things. So
Here's one. I just graduated high school. I'm going to college. I want to be an officer. Would you say it's still a job worth doing in today's society? I'm pretty set on joining. I've had a lot of officers tell me not to.
I think there's some truth to the job is what you make it. And I like my job. I like the things about the job that most people like get into law enforcement for, or watch cops and are like, that's fun, that's cool. Or just, and the cliche thing is like helping people. Well, I would say like solving problems, but you're going to do a lot of things that are just absolutely pointless, and you have to do them because like maybe the policy says you have to do them, or they're like, just do it just in case, and you're like, but I don't, like, no crime was committed. It's like, I'll just do it, you know. Man, that's a hard question. Like when I was, this is 2015 or actually 2012 when I got out of the Marines and I went back to Ohio, and like that was my goal, but it didn't happen right away. Nuclear security. But like I mean, there was a point in time where I just didn't know if I was going to be able to make it happen because of applications or whatever, but I was going to be a cop if it allowed me to, regardless of what people were saying. And I think at the time, 2015, there was a couple of high profile incidents that happened, but that stigma or whatever with the police, and it was not anything like it is now. And when I got on, there was no body cameras at the time. And that came about fairly quickly. And things changed, and a lot of it changed for the better. But man, it kind of depends. Like if that's what you want to do. I mean, like people don't go to homicide for 30 years. Like like that person, like nobody was going to talk that guy out of becoming a cop. Does that make sense? So
The guy who's been working homicide for 30 years?
yeah,
Oh, okay. I got it.
like, and that guy probably wanted to do that before he became a cop. Like, oh, that'd be cool. I want to do that or whatever. People change, your interests change, but I think it's almost problematic that, well, I say this, like that you're questioning it. right? Because for me, it was always just something I knew was going to happen. I wrote this in my they call it a thesis in like high school. What do they call that? When you write something about what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Oh no.
Thesis isn't the right word.
No.
But
Oh my gosh.
I still have it somewhere.
Yeah, it's with our diplomas.
But I wrote like I was going to go into the Marines and I was going to get out and be a police officer and be an FTO, which I never did, the FTO part. But I knew I was going to do that. And that's what I wanted to do for whatever reasons. So, but I've also learned that when you become a cop, especially in a large city, like cops are like every person. Like you're gonna go there and you're gonna whatever your image is of what you think a police officer is, it's gonna quickly get like erased. Like every type of person, is an officer. And they're just people with a badge that serve a specific purpose. And like my old partner, I think he became a cop because I think he was just I think he just I found out that people become cops because they're like, I just needed a job. I thought that was the odd thing, but that's real life, especially more now that the standards are not as hard as they used to be in a lot of places. Um, and I mean, maybe that works out, right? You're like, I just need a job. I'll go do this. But you're not going to be maybe you become very interested in the job and you like the job, but I tend to believe like if it's not something you desire to do because you really want it, that you might lose interest and it might not be for you. So I guess to answer your question, do whatever you want to do, regardless of what other people are suggesting. You'll probably hate your job just as much as an accountant, or more or less. I mean, I don't know. I think the important thing is go do what you want to do and figure out for yourself whether or not it's something you want to continue doing, but try to have a plan.
Good. That's a good one.
Did I?
Yeah, you rolled your eyes at me. You can I think you could kind of speak to this. See if this. Someone said, Texas, along with other southern states, will teach you how to do a proper high risk stop. Northern states seem to teach you how to rush a vehicle. Did they? So, because you did police academy in Ohio and Texas.
Yeah.
So, did you notice that was a difference? Can you speak to that?
Well, I think if you look at the policies that are in place based on what your perception is of what cops are doing in different states, like you're seeing maybe you're talking from experience. Maybe you have more information, but I'm kind of assuming that you're observing this based off what you see online. And that's what I was going to do. I didn't get to looking at that county's policy, finding that county's policy of that officer, which that's different because that wasn't a felony stop like I thought. It was I guess it was a traffic stop that got out of control and they didn't back up. But I've done this before in the past. Let's see if I can point you to a YouTube video where I pointed this out. There's been a couple in the past. I can't think off the top of my head, and you go look at their policies. Okay, here's one. The Georgia State Trooper guy who was on the hood of the car and everybody thought that was cool. And the organization actually used it as a recruiting opportunity to say like, this is how we do it. You become a Georgia State Trooper. And well, the problem with that is, first of all, you sacrifice your own safety for that event, that person, which is just silly. And secondly, he violated his own policy in doing it. And then they also basically said like, yeah, we're down for you violating our own policy. So it was very weird. But if you go look at the policies of these organizations, wherever you're seeing it, you're gonna find that they're violating their policy almost always. Because most organizations, whether they train you to do it or not, like have figured out by now that you shouldn't be doing that. But what was the question?
There was no question. He just made a comment, and
Oh,
I was like, "Oh, I mean, you've been to
I mean,
both, so I'm just wondering if
there's cops where I work that are doing it, have done it, have gotten days off, 20 days off for doing it. And if it doesn't result in a shooting, maybe nobody knows about it. But if it does, you're gonna get in trouble. So I don't know that it's necessarily a department training issue of what they're telling people, because a lot of the stuff is pretty standard. I mean, so most of them have figured out by now you shouldn't do that.
Is it stressful balancing a family and being in law enforcement? And how do you manage those things?
Oh, well, I talked about this a little bit already on here, but you have to figure out. It's hard to do when you're younger, right? So, what podcast did I talk about this on? There's a podcast I could like point you right to. I talk all about this thing. Um, balancing life, I think, is the thumbnail, and we talk about this thing, exactly this thing, and especially as a cop, and especially as like, or I want to be on SWAT, or I want to do this thing. You're gonna do a lot of sacrificing on your family's behalf to go after that thing. And that's going to cause you more time away from your family. Um, and that's something that you have to consider. But like I said earlier, when I pass away, nobody is going to really care about it other than my family. So, my dad passed away. When is that? 5 years? So I don't
Yeah, it'll
know.
be 5 years.
And that was like a realization that I had. Was like, I'm the only person, relatively other family members, I guess, but that is going to like think about my dad till I die. And that's the case for my own family, So, and they will also have that same, hopefully, same realization if they get an opportunity to see me, when I pass away. And that is the most impactful thing that I could think about happening in my entire life, because once you're not here anymore, then nothing else matters, right? And if these other people that you're working for, these organizations that you're working for, these people that you're working with, ultimately won't care, right, about you not being here at some point, because everybody moves on. But your family will, and then at some point everything is gone, like your generation is gone and your stuff is gone. And like I've posted this on the Instagram before, is like, when you do pass away at some point, like you're basically reduced to a shoebox full of items, probably. People start getting rid of your stuff, like, because it just makes sense, right? My wife doesn't need any of the stuff that I have, so you might as well sell it and make some money and do something for the kids. And maybe there's a few things hanging on the wall in here or whatever. And I talk about like awards or things that I've earned in my life. And I have a few of those things. And I've experienced individuals on the job that want you to know about the things that they did, right? So like their office is full of their accomplishments, right? And maybe they don't have kids at home, um, or a wife or whatever, but that to me is a worthless representation of who you are, right? Or maybe your office at home, or it's just so full that you're just overflowing with things. But I always found like, I guess it's not here because I ended up redoing all this stuff. But like I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. That is, I mean, I earned it, but like I didn't like, it was online basically, but it took a long time. And I have like some things hanging from the wall. I have like a uh, SWAT basic school. I think there's an honor graduate thing there. Like
Honor
I have
student.
like top perform like physical performer of the academy. I have like top shot in the academy. I have some like things that I've written that I was able to read, like on the honor graduate stuff. Like your accomplishments, like your promotions from the military. I don't have a lot of things. I don't have a lot, but if I could pick things when I'm not here anymore to leave with my family, it would be like these things. Because those things represent like what you did and what you were able to accomplish. And I think that those things are will be the most impactful in some way to like my kids. So I think like it's hard. I think like as an officer, like you should focus, you should balance the two, but like favor the things that matter the most because it's not your job. And if it is, you probably don't know, like you have a hard time identifying with anything other than your uniform. Like you're going through a divorce now because you work so much at work. And that's not good. I know I was talking to a guy today who's going through a divorce, officer. I think like at some point in your life, like, I joined the military because I wanted to fight for my country and I had this thing that was like eating at me, like I got to get over there. And that's almost like a different, I don't want to say it's a selfish thing. I mean, I wanted to go after the fight or whatever. But even like after that, like I was pursuing a career that I wanted. And then like we moved from Ohio to Texas and all because of me and what I wanted to do. I guess it's kind of working out in a way. But and even like the business side of things or this or all the things that I'm trying to make happen, I don't it's sacrifice, but I don't see it as like something I'm doing for myself. Like I see it as something that I'm doing for other people that hopefully at some point I can spend more time doing this thing that I like and enjoy in a better way. And that comes easier, right? I have other people doing things for me to be able to do that. And ultimately, like I put my family in a better position for me to not have to go to work every day necessarily to work for something that may or may not be there. Um, but I think like the important thing is figure out what you're going after and what you're willing to sacrifice for it. That's my answer.
Is it stressful though? Do you feel stress
With what?
like balancing
The job?
work and home?
No, not now, but there was a time where um
Like during your SWAT schedule, or was it?
um
Because that sucked for me.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like is it stressful? Like it's not stressful like cuz like everything that I was doing I had to do.
Yeah.
So it's more like it was causing me stress because I decided that I wanted to do that thing. Like not even me really, like putting stress on like the family or whatever. So and you don't have a choice to balance it all the time. Like you can volunteer for things, but like sometimes you're the guy or most of the time.
Voluntold.
So I think like law enforcement in general is a stressful job.
Yeah.
If you allow it to be stressful, if you don't take care of yourself, if you work more than you probably should, um, if you take jobs that you know is going to take you away from your family and your kids' events, and I mean, sometimes you could have a job that's like, okay, this is kind of working. And they're like, oh, you guys are going to work weekends now. And you guys are going to change your schedule from 8 to 4, where you're getting off to be able to see your kids' events. And now you're working 10 to 6, and now you can't make it. And it's like, oh, well, can I burn time so that I can go? And it's like, no. So it's more or less like, you got to understand that there's like, employees' purpose are to serve, let's say law enforcement, right? Like serve the community, but you work for somebody else. You don't work for yourself. You don't do anything for yourself. you don't really probably, you know, I would say this, right? Like this is my personal development like thing to you is like if I ask you, what is it like that you could be doing right now and making a comfortable living doing it? Um, if you could just like wave a magic wand, whatever that thing would be, and be reasonable, because you can't be like, I just wish I had money in the bank and I didn't have to go to work. Well, that's not reality unless you win the lottery. So what is that thing? And that thing can change too, because if you asked me 8 years ago, it would have been be a cop. And then well, like I said, people change. So, but if there is something that is within your, maybe it seems like it's difficult, but it's within your control, right? Like what I'm doing basically. Like if I could wave a magic wand, it'd be like, wish I could just wake up every day and do this and make a living doing, not like talking to you here, but like create really good educational content to serve other people and host classes and fill the classes and travel doing that to a certain degree, whatever's necessary, and be with my family more and make my own schedule and like run a business and have people doing things for me. That's what I want. So if that's what I want, then I have to do a lot of stuff to try and get there. And maybe you never get there. But I think like in life, if you can identify what that thing is in that moment or in that time frame of your life, it would be a shame if you didn't make a reasonable effort to go after that thing because life is short. Did I answer a question?
Yeah, you did. Good job.
So, I mean, I think that goes to the other individual that was saying they were wanting or like going to be a cop or wanted to, but people were like saying he shouldn't.
Yeah, his family.
My question is like, also just like, is it what you want? I guess I kind of said it, but is that what you want to do? And if it isn't, what is the thing you want to do? And if that's the thing you want to do, then go do that thing. Like nobody wanted me to join. Well, I joined the military for a number of different reasons, but like there was no opportunity for me if I didn't my dad didn't make a lot of money. And I didn't like school at all. So, and that was one reason, but I was motivated to do that. Nobody was going to tell me that I couldn't or wouldn't. And I wanted to be in the infantry, and my dad didn't like that idea. He wanted me to just pick another job, and my mom didn't like it. And then when I was going to Afghanistan, nobody liked that. So, but nobody was going to tell me I couldn't do it or wouldn't do it, and that's what I did. And then I executed on all the plans after that to the best of my ability, and I got to where I'm at now. And I don't know if you can tell, but even though I'm doing what I'm doing for my real job, this is my focus. So whatever that thing is, I mean, be like, man, I'm really into baseball cards. I've been into baseball cards my whole life, and I want to, my dream is to like own a baseball card shop. Well, should probably figure out how to do that. Google.
Do y'all have a schedule for 2024 HRVE classes?
I have no schedule. I just like reach out to a guy and ask if I can use a location, and eventually they get back to me, and eventually I can. It's all not a really. I don't say it's not a good situation, but like the goal is to get my own place or whatever, so I can do these things without, you know, not hoping, but like without relying on other people, because that's a major issue when you're trying to do your own things. Oh, they're not getting back to you, or they don't have a location, or the location that I was using that was great is now under construction until June, so it's unavailable. And um, I'm doing all this by myself. So, it would be no issue if I had departments that were contacting me and said, "Hey, can you come train, our guys and we'll pay you." It's like, "Oh, well, that's what I want to do," you know. But there's a network thing kind of, I've been doing this for 2 years. I haven't been doing everything right for 2 years. I think, hopefully now like the YouTube's doing better, so getting more reach and people are reaching out to me and, like you have to grow, like things have to evolve and, you know, like people that have already made it, so to speak, or like that are doing the thing that I want to do are gonna help you, like, hey, I know all these people. I like the information that you're putting out. Here's a list. And like, I talk to them and, they're going to make sure that like, it just doesn't happen. Like everybody's out for themselves. And to the point where they would even do the opposite, like, not allow you opportunities. Um, you know, I I was training for an organization and now I'm not at one point, and there's a story behind that that may be told with someday, but it has nothing to do with the information or my ability to do it or my availability, and it has everything to do with men's egos and emotion. So it's all just navigating this thing. Um, but yeah, but I don't, to answer your question, I don't. When I have a location and a time, I will put it out on social media. Actually, I want to do the exploiting accuracy class after this one. And the only thing I'm waiting on is simunition to arrive, really. So I have a guy that I can go through that's been helping me get classes scheduled. If you guys know Will from, I don't know if I could use his real name, but Stuffs and Pews on Instagram. He's a buddy of mine. He helps me out, and he's with the Orion Training Group. He's a really good guy. So yeah, that's all it is. But if I had my own place, I'd have a schedule.
Yeah. He said his agency's down to cover classes, but they need like a big advance notice.
Send me an email, instructors@kineticconceptsgroup.com, and I will get you whatever it is you are asking of me. And that's another thing. I've had people reach out to me and ask for more information and ask for a pamphlet or whatever. And I'll put it together and I'll send it to you. And I'll tell you what you get and I'll tell you what I'm asking for, like everybody else does. But it's the follow through part that hasn't, I'm going to say hasn't happened, but it's not intentional even really. It's just like people are busy and then they're interested in something or whatever the case is. So yeah, I just need commitment by people. Because I can tell you for a matter of fact that when I put on the courses that I teach, people really like it a lot, and it's not going to be anything that you've ever heard anybody say before or teach you. Yeah, to the point where, and here's another thing, right? I taught for the TTPOA last year at the conference. I had like 20, like, I think there was like maybe like 28 between 2 days of SWAT people in my classes, and they all love the course. And I had multiple people tell me, hey, we wanna teach our SWAT guy or teach our department this. So can we do a train the trainer course? And I was like, yeah. So I put that together and reached out to them and, you know, didn't hear anything. And I even told the guys that were helping me at the time, because we had this happen a lot where people would say they're really interested and then whatever. So I wasn't even excited about it. Like I thought it was really cool, but I didn't get overly like excited because I just figured what's been happening will happen, is like they won't follow through. And so one guy who actually went all the way and followed through, he's like, yeah, you come by and use our facility and I'll talk to my lieutenant and we'll get it worked out and we'll make sure like you get paid and all that. And I had even told him like, I'm not even worried about it, because I just want to get the information out there and be impressionable to people. Because not to say I'm nobody or the information isn't worth anything, but like really wanted to try to make sure that the opportunity was there and to be in front of people and talk to people. And he talked to his lieutenant and they basically, he wanted like everybody to do it for free, And in return, they would host the class and have other people there. And the problem with it was like I couldn't commit because in order for me to do that, it would only happen if X amount of people signed up. And so I said, like, we could do it, but we might have to cancel it at the end. And I don't want to do that. And two, it's not like a for sure thing. And I don't want that. I don't like that. I've had to do that in the past. It's not good business. It's not good to like host it or say you're going to do a class and then cancel it for reasons because it's not full or you didn't make, so I mean, because there are expenses and stuff. But anyways, yeah. Send me an email and we'll try to work it out,
Someone, Joe Blow said Coast Guard legit.
No, that's good.
Gonna go from Army to Coast Guard.
Is it 12 something?
Babe, it is.
Oh my God.
I know, we have to get up. I have to get up early.
Me too. Is there anything else? Questions? No, I don't know about the Coast Guard.
Yeah. Should I get my bachelor's in criminal justice? Is it worth it? I have thoughts about doing it after I graduate the academy, just to have it on my resume.
Well, whatever department you're going to work for, see if they pay for your college, and if they do, see what they pay for. It'll probably be anything, not just bachelor criminal justice. Every person that I've ever known that went to college to get their criminal justice in order to either be a police officer or before they became a police officer said that like that was dumb. And it kind of is because you can get a cop without it. And the problem is like you become a cop, you have a bachelor's in criminal justice, but you can't do any other job with that, really. I mean, there's like some other lower paying jobs probably within like the criminal justice field. I'm maybe I'm not making it up, but that's what I believe, and that's what I looked up and looked at. So if you can get a degree in something else, so it also gives you options to leave law enforcement. Finish up the questions. I gotta go.
Okay. Do you see the profession becoming unconstitutional?
No, I don't know. I don't. That conversation's weird. I mean, I think like people see law enforcement interactions. They talk about like the only thing that's like cops are like really kind of like unconstitutional about, not like intentionally, but like overstep in the moment is these like um really is like these auditor people, like, or they have a gun and they're like, let me see your ID, and like you can't ask for my ID. It's because the cop doesn't understand. But it's not like the cop is like purposely, he's just dumb, doesn't know what he's doing. And it's not intentional, like, I don't know if I'm probably not answering that correctly, but I think like the citizens, or like it's not even citizens, it's just like I want to say the criteria of the person that talks about the Constitution and the cops violating it, because it's usually a certain looking kind of person. Um, but like, and in the end, like cops do things every day that are like, I would say like unconstitutional, but nothing comes of it because, you know, the charges are dismissed, or the cop, what he did, even though it was not constitutional, it just never goes to the Constitution. Like it just doesn't get there. Um, it's always resolved one way or another. And, there are cases where it's like, oh, awarded millions of dollars because he was stopped and ID'd. There was actually one recently, I think it was LAPD or something. Forgive me if I'm wrong. And the dude got like a lot of money, like 10 million, $20 million. And yeah, like what the cop did made absolutely no sense. It was like they responded to an apartment, knocked, asked if they could come in, and they purposely clipped the video to make like, miss some of the conversation. But I assume he said, yeah, you can come in. And the officer was like, oh, like, is there anybody in here? I'm gonna look around real quick. And the guy's like, no, like don't look around. And again, I don't know how far the cop got because he was like walking when he said that down the hallway, but then it kind of shows him coming back. So he may have heard that and turned right around. I don't particularly know. But the problem came because like the guy that they were there for, I don't think they were investigating a crime. I think they were investigating like a call about like his mental state or something. And they're talking to him, and the guy's like, "You can't do that. Like, why are you guys, I want you guys to leave. Just leave." And they're like, I think they're trying to figure out like if he's well. And he's like, "No, just leave. Just get out of here. Like, I don't want you guys looking around my apartment. I don't want you guys doing this." And the cop becomes confrontational, which it's like he should have recognized that he's not there investigating a crime and he has no legal right at that point to be in the apartment. But he actually starts arguing with them and like, "Oh, you're not, basically like, again, detaining this person or arresting this person for no reason." And yeah, that's a violation of the Constitution. And it proves to be a matter of the fact because the guy won the lawsuit or whatever. And the officer was probably like fired or something or quit on his own or something. But like that's what happens in like constitutional cases. Like they get civilly resolved. Like I don't know. Like yeah, but yeah, like that was aggravating to watch that. And you're like, these guys don't know what they're doing at all. Like don't know where they have a legal right to be. Don't know that they can't walk around the guy's apartment and look for officer safety reasons when there's nothing, happening that's requiring them to do that. Um, and then also becoming confrontational with this person who didn't commit a crime and then handcuffing him for no criminal reason, no probable cause or reasonable suspicion that he committed a crime. I don't know if they arrested him or what for like disorderly conduct or some crap, which you can't do inside your own home. So it's like all wrong. That's unconstitutional. But again, it's like resolved in a administrative way. What else?
Art Loomer, who was here yesterday, asked
Oh.
if you guys were best buddies, and then he said, "Yeah, you're best bros."
He answered his own question.
I guess so. Yeah.
Oh.
Any little tips for new small town deputy? Oh wait, before you get to that one, very quickly, are you going to cover the Acorn incident? Yes or no?
I've been asked that. I don't know.
Well, he's late to the live. That's why he was
Oh,
asking.
I've been asked that like a couple of times. I don't know about tonight, but I talked about it, and I it's just so odd and weird, and like I don't know how to like address it in a way that it's just a crazy, absurd thing that like there's no. When I look at it from a tactical perspective, the only thing that I could like make sense of explaining and talking about is what I talked about with the female officer, and why at times as an officer who's viewing something, hearing something, and the facts and circumstances that exist at the time and what you perceive, you make a decision with gunfire based on what you see and hear and all that stuff. And could that happen? Does it happen? Yes, it does happen. Like would that I do that? Like very, very like niche situational thing. And like that part of it is the only part that makes sense to talk about that make like from a professional, like in a way, without like doing some thing with the video that makes it just be like, this guy's an idiot. Like I also could go into the debrief portion of he was interviewed by the investigator and what that said. But I don't have time for it, honestly. I don't think I'm going to answer your question. The two things that I need to get done beyond what I need to do for the community, which is actually kind of like the priority of the over the next several days. But the next videos that I need to do, I need to do a video on the TXC overt carry holsters because I'm switching my belt over to those because I like them, and they sent them to me because I asked them to because I already know that I like them because I have a set. And so I'm going to do a video on those and tell you why I think those are better than the T-Rex arms, which I've used for several years and I still think are good. I just think these are better, and not because they sent them to me, but because I do think they're better. But anyways, and then like I want to do the video on reaction times and like what you're actually capable of doing when somebody's sitting in a vehicle. And they're a suspect from okay, we have our guns drawn on this guy or he's not complying. Like we need to back up. And this is why you probably need to back up and call him out. and go over just some things like there's no way that you get off a round before he does when he is the standard, which is a bad guy with a gun trying to kill you, right? Because if I come up with this and I throw it at you, and then I'm digging over here and I come up and I point my phone at you and I do all that stuff and I'm being crazy, like you're just not going to shoot me before I get a round off, and that's the problem. So a video on that, those two things I need to do. But that's what I got.
Okay. Back to any little tips for new small town deputy.
Join my Surviving the Street group. That's where all the tips are, bruh. The link's in the description if you want to. Right now it's $10 a month, and that is where all your questions will be answered by other police officers, maybe somewhere near you're at. But just at face value of your question, don't get complacent. Don't take things for granted. And that's really everybody. You know, just because you're in a small town doesn't mean something can't happen or won't happen. And I think especially most cops, as they get older and they continue to do the job, they just do whatever they want and sacrifice safety all the time. Don't be that person. You know, I don't want to say like, watch my stuff, but I think like this channel is probably the most relevant channel to your job that will give you information that you could do nothing and just watch it and be like, okay, I'm not going to do that, and probably make better decisions and increase your chances of survival. That's what I got.
Do you work as a cop?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, someone pointed out that a degree in criminal justice will ultimately be useful when trying to promote through the ranks.
Well, I guess it depends. Like, because for us, it's just a degree. It doesn't matter what it's in. If you have a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctorate, you get a certain amount of points. Doesn't matter. So I guess maybe it depends. But like, say for example, but again, there's a lot that goes into it. I disagree just based on what I know, but that could be the case. But say for example, like you want to be in like the cyber part of like law enforcement. But even then, like they don't expect everybody to have a cybersecurity criminal justice degree. Like they are going to train you. So my suggestion is to do something. The reason that I got a criminal justice degree is because it was the only thing I could come to actually following through with school, because I was doing the thing interests me, and it was the only thing that I thought that I could actually achieve. That's why I did it. If I was decent at doing anything else or anything else interested me, I would have done that.
Okay. Last one, I think. So you're saying you need a countrywide GoFundMe to get your own range to train cops because you don't care about the civilians. Laughing emoji. I wouldn't say that.
No. I just don't have a desire to. And I've said this before, but like training companies either start training civilians, or they do what I'm doing and realize you can't really do it, or there's no money in it, or enough of you guys come around and you're like, I want this. And you're like, okay, I guess they want it, so let me do it. And maybe they are actually into it and they believe in what they're doing, but ultimately a lot of money is involved. And I just don't care about it right now. But if I had my own place and there was a GoFundMe, there's options. Like there's a civilian, there are things that you should know and you can know that should be available to you. And if it makes sense, then I would do it. But people have asked me like my vehicle class, and it's like, you're not going to be approaching suspects from your vehicle. I can't teach it to you, not because I don't want you to have the information, but because you'll never do it. So like, I'm not going to accept money from people and teach them something they're never going to do, because it's morally, it's ridiculous. Like, it's not like it doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, one more just came. Retired Green Beret with 20 years in the Army. Any experience working with former SOF in law enforcement? What's SOF?
Special operations.
Oh, okay. Any advice for me stepping into being a new guy at 38 years old?
That's awesome. First of all, I don't think a lot of special operations guys get into law enforcement. Although, let me grab my phone real quick. Maybe I could give you this guy's name. I don't know. There are, well, I don't know, special operations, but actually, I have 2 messages. Let me show you or tell you about it. So this person messaged me tonight. We've been in communication in the past, it looks like. He said, I'm an SOF vet and a cop who's done his fair share of dumb stuff that would have got me killed. Please keep up the good work. There's that guy, and I send, like, he was talking about him, like, having information that he could be valuable, and so I pointed him to the community because that's what we do. And I don't know if he joined. I haven't really looked at it or anything. Let's see.
You didn't plug your community in your first bit of your response
To where?
to this man.
Well, I'm doing it.
Well,
now.
I know, but usually you start off with,
Oh yeah, but
join my community.
yeah, I didn't want to lead with that on this one. But
Okay.
so there's this other individual, and since he's on Instagram, he will probably have the information for you. So I'll just tell you who he is because he's a public figure. Trevor Thrasher. Don't know him personally, but he's messaged me a couple times, and his bio says Green Beret, OGA contractor, SWAT police. His name is Trevor Thrasher, and his handle is Trevor Thrasher Actual. So he'll probably have the best information for you. But I don't have experience working with them. Man, ask this guy, because there's a lot of egos involved in law enforcement, especially if you're trying to like do the SWAT thing and go that way. And one of 2 things, like, they could think that your information is valuable and feel like you're capable, or they could feel threatened by the fact that you think you know more or whatever. So he'll be able to help you. Trevor Thrasher Actual. Never met the guy, but he's messaged me quite a bit, or I say quite a bit, in April. And then just now,
We're like best friends.
someone else sent me a message though and said, hey, you should link up with Trevor Thrasher.
Oh, that's cool.
And he said what he does, but basically he just said, hey, like, I sent that video that you did, and he's to my guys or whatever. He said there's so many things wrong here, yet they are supposed to be the best at it. He was just referring to like the videos that I showed, because like in my last video, the one was Army Rangers, where I showed like them entering the room and then the red beam like shooting at them as they're coming in. Then he sent me another one I haven't looked at. I guess they're both Ranger videos though. He said, yeah, they're supposed to be the best at it. When your method is first about getting in quickly and checking a corner quickly and not about engaging a threat quickly, you are asking for trouble in the real world. Trevor Thrasher Actual. Seems like a decent guy. Probably has the information you're looking for. But yeah, if you guys want to continue to support the channel, keep doing what you're doing, because we're starting to gain some traction, and get involved in any way that you can. Like, if you're gonna like go mow the lawn, you're like, I'm not watching that or listening to that because I don't feel like it. Just like, put it on play and just go do something. Or like get your wife's phone and be like, babe, let me see your phone. You're like, what do you need my phone for? I'm gonna watch this video again. Well, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm just gonna let it play. Like the videos, leave a comment if you can. Anything helps. And like, continue to grow and try to do what we can. And then like everybody else will benefit, hopefully, too. The next time you see this, though, unless I can figure out how to get it done on this camera, it'll be on my phone, because that way other people who aren't following will have an opportunity to jump in here and see it. Because we had like 60 some people last time.
Yeah.
But I would think, like, I want to try to do this every week, like Monday nights or something, because that's when I try to post my videos. So that way, if there's questions about the videos or whatever, we can do it then. But anyways, everybody, 3 hours, long time. Oh my God. I'll see you guys later. Appreciate it.